Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yes, Vicky, it's my new video. Can you hear me? All right, can you hear me now? Oh, Alice there said he can hear me. Oh, okay, okay. I better stay with this right here. Yes, this is my new studio. And I am so sorry that I keep missing my own live. But for some reason, I had in my mind that this is Tuesday. Same thing happened last week. I'm thinking this is this is Tuesday when it's Wednesday. I'm gonna have to set a reminder. Somebody should say, Hard Truth, today is Wednesday. I was making a video. I got a video I'm about to drop. I was about to drop in about 1 minute. And I happened to look at my email and saw Leslie and Susan say, "Do you realize we're waiting for the live?" And I was like, "What? What?" So I'm telling you, I can't even know what day of the week it is. That's bad. Y'all gotta pray for me. I need prayer. I didn't even think today is Wednesday. If I hadn't looked at my email, I wouldn't even know that today was Wednesday until I finally looked at my email. Well, anyway, welcome everybody. Good to see you, Alice there. Good to see you, Vicky Gutierrez. Let me show y'all some love for putting up with me. Woo, woo. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Emery is so ready. Hello, KJV and all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna show y'all some love for putting up with me. Let's see. Shout out to Alice there first. Man, I've been working so hard, and it seemed like I'm slipping. I was making a video that I'm getting ready to release, and then I just happened to look at my email. That's bad. You be drinking too much coffee and tea before you get into your life. All right, Alice, there. I'm gonna give you that one. Let me get it's something because I'm telling you, I just made part 3 to this study that I've been sticking my head in, and I'm telling you, I'm just tripping right now because I can't believe I did it 2 weeks in a row. Hey, Blah. I'm trying to give everybody a shout out that was here when I was trying to get the audio on. I appreciate that so much, y'all's patience. Thank you so much. Shout out to Blah too. Now, I'm telling you, I can't believe it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and see if you can hear me with the backdrop. Now, if I put my background on, I'm going to see if y'all can hear me. All right, it's showing. And let's see. I guess. I don't know why I can't show my background and my. I'm going to have to learn that part. But anyway, we're going to just go ahead and get started because I don't know why that's happening. All right, so I got it on there. Maybe it'll show. Maybe it won't. But yeah, it's on. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you know, we've been talking about this study that I found. And I'm going to go and go ahead and put it up. I have it up, or I had it up. All right. Understanding. Because I got some great stuff for you. We can go backwards or we can go forwards. It doesn't matter. But I want to talk about the study, and I've added on a typology. And as soon as I can change my screen here, we can get ready. Oh, I got 10 likes. Thank you so much. Wow, wow. Thank you so much. I have to figure out how to show all this stuff at the same time. All right, but I need to add my study. And hopefully people will figure out how to come, because I need to go ahead and get started. How y'all doing? Everybody had a good week? Everybody doing fine? Everybody hanging in there? It's okay, girl. I just drove off with my coffee on the gas pump. Okay, so we both in the same boat this week, Blah. I'm telling you, if I hadn't looked at my email, it would have been even later. Last week it was 4 o'clock before I finally figured it out. And it was because I looked at my email. So y'all, I guess I have to lay off the caffeine. I sure got some too. All right, now let me see. Here's the screen. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. Because I don't know how much time y'all have. Now, there we go. Let me try this layout. Now, this is the study that I've been talking about. And as you know, we've already talked about, make it a little small. We've already talked about the pseudo commando. So I'll get your opinion right quick on that one, and then we'll move to the new one. I just made a video about it. You'll have a sneak preview, because honestly, as soon as I finish this live, I'm going to drop that video. I could do it right now because I finished it, but it's all right. I'll show it after you'll know what it's about after this live. All right. Now, you might want to take a few notes, because this is very good. Even though this study was in 92, I find it to be accurate. So far from what I have seen, I find it to be accurate. All right. And so let's see. The pseudo commando and the disciple are very similar. The only differences are the motivation and the spatial mobility. All right. Now, first of all, what do y'all think about the pseudo commander? Do you believe that somebody, that Kopaka could be the pseudo commander? Y'all let me know, because I haven't really gotten the feedback live about the pseudo commander. Let me put that in the chat. The feedback about the pseudo commander Kopaka being the pseudo commander. Commando, I don't know why I keep saying commander. All right. What do you think of that? And also, I'll give a link if somebody wants to come on stage. Matter of fact, let me put the link in there right now. And if anybody wants to come up and talk, that'll be fine. Answer a few questions. All right, and here's the link for the stage. Now, this seems like it might be a little boring, but actually it's not, because it's on point. So far, I'm gonna make it a little bigger so you can see it. See if I can slide it over a little bit so you can see it. It's very interesting. And I think it gives us some kind of guidance on what to look for in mass unaliving, because we're just going on what we've seen on TV and, movies and stuff. But this was an actual study. These people studied 32 mass unalivers that caused 437 victims, casualties. So this is not just them shooting a breeze. They have experience. They're experienced researchers with credentials, and they know exactly what it's a quantitative study. All right, so the first one we talked about was pseudo commando, and in my opinion, Kopaka fits this to a T. In my opinion, he has everything, and I don't want to I don't want to spoil the video that I'm going to release after this live, but he fits the pseudo commando to a T. Now, I want to get your feedback on that, but I also want to talk about the disciple. All right, because they're so close together. They're so close together in definition. So I'm going to go back up here and read right quickly just a little bit to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. All right, here it is. All right, it says the disciple follows the dictates of a charismatic leader. There are more than a few examples of disciple mass unaliver. All right, skip down. But what is known is that in the case of the disciple mass unaliver, selection of victims is at the discretion of the leader. Okay, so that means when you think about the Idaho 4, the leader is the one who chose 1122 King Road. In other words, if it were the disciple, he would have been the leader of the group. A leader of the group would have been the one to actually choose, would be the one to actually choose who the victims are going to be, which is very, very interesting to me. Now, what else? Hold on. All right. It says the motivation for mass unaliving for the disciple rests outside the killer. The leader of the group demands the action. The killer wants acceptance by the leader. This is the psychological gain, the expressive gain. The psychological acceptance is paramount in the need hierarchy of the mass killer. He feels he deserves psychological approbation only if he carries out the wishes of the leader. Now look at this. Money, revenge, or sex are not the motivating factors nor the anticipated gain. All right, think about it. In the Idaho 4, there's no reporting of any sexual, violence or whatever. No reporting of, I don't want to say the word, but that violent type of molestation. There's no reporting of that. And so whatever motive there is for the crime, that wasn't a part of it. So that fits. Okay. So what do we know about the disciple? Number one, they don't they do it because somebody else told them to do it. And number two, the motive, they don't go in and do extra stuff. We have seen crimes where they go in to kill or they go in to commit a burglary. And if they discover that there's a female or females there, they'll actually commit the RAPE word. And they didn't go to do that, but since they're there, they'll do that too. But with the disciple, they go in and they do what the leader told them to do, and then they leave. And then sometimes the leader will tell them how to do it, you know. And so I hate to say it, but I just feel like we need to know more about Kopaka's roommates, because for a charismatic leader to have the disciples go and do something like that, they have to have disciples, and usually that person lives with them or is in close proximity. I want to show you what I mean. Give me 1 minute to change this right quick. I know you remember this. I'm just trying to load it up here. I need an illustration because this was one of the best examples, I think, of this type of typology. All right, here it is. I'll do it like this. This is my idea. This is my best example. All right. Do you remember the DC sniper? He had um this young guy Malvo following him while they were basically picking people off in DC. Remember, they were just shooting people coming out of the grocery store and stuff. And so he was doing that because the guy was telling him to do it. Do you remember the DC sniper? For a while, I'm not sure how. Let me look it up. I'm not sure how many people they actually unalived, but it was a lot before they finally caught up with who did it. It was they took out a lot of people, right? And so I want you guys to participate in this. Don't just listen to me talk. I want to hear what you have to say about the pseudo commando, and also about the fact that whoever did the Idaho 4 crimes, I think we agreed that it was more than one person. That this wasn't just one person that went in the house and did this. Okay, so somebody had to be the leader, is what I'm saying. Somebody had to be the leader. Somebody had to be calling the shots. It's questionable whether the leader was actually with them when they committed the crime. But what this study is saying, the leader didn't necessarily have to be there at 11:22. He could have just ordered it and then, did what he had to do. I'm gonna have to do a spoiler because I'm gonna have to show y'all what I mean. I hate to show you what's in the video. The video's coming up next. And so I don't know. I it's gonna be a spoiler if I do this. All right, I'm gonna do it. It's not too many people probably watching this anyway. So I'm gonna show you the intro to the video I was gonna drop. You'll get a preview. All right. Hold on just 1 second. Hold on just 1 second. I'm gonna give you a preview of the video. Just a clip of it, just a little piece of it. And then you'll see what I mean. All right, let me get it to that part. Now, this is a spoiler because this is a part of the video I'm getting ready to release. I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all see it. A piece of it. Okay, listen to this, and then we'll talk about it. I guess it's gonna play. My October 15th video. Also need to take in our story. Okay.
Explain to me simply why that house that night. Why they
Which
went
house?
there.
Which night?
The house on Shallow Drive, the Tate house. Why did they go there that night?
Because Tex had been there before, and he went to a familiar place.
And why did they kill people that night? What did they think they
because
were doing for you?
They freaked out, man. Tex was stoned, and you got everybody was loaded, man.
He said he wasn't. He said he was coming off an LASD trip. He had a little speed.
Little speed. Well, not around me. He didn't have no speed because I wouldn't allow no speed on that ranch.
What did they think they were doing for you?
They wasn't doing anything for me.
What did they think they were doing for you?
Okay. If you were me and I knew everything you do is for you, it's for me too.
So what did they think?
If you're in one mind, if I am you and you are me and we are all together, and then who's responsible for come together over me right now? Blah, 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 blah. It's all his fault. Oh no, it's his fault. We put another false face on it. It's Halloween. It's your fault. So now wait a minute. Criminal behavior is the same. It's mundane in most minds. Criminal will always go to a familiar place. Tex had been to that house. Well, that's here's the division between your mind and mine. Here's where the chamber opens up. A rebel. I got my rights in the 76th courtroom. If you don't give me my rights in the courtroom, then I become King George. And I got all the rights then. And when I stand on the mountain and I say, do it, it gets done. If it don't get done, then I'll move on it. And that's the last thing in the world you want me to do, because I got that Confederate sword in the kitchen. Don't invoke me. Do it. Get it done. How do we do it? I don't know. I don't want to be involved in it. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. In Japan, they call it ninja. I don't get involved in violence. I'm not a violent human being.
Did you tell the women to do their witchy things?
I said, if you're going to do something, leave something witchy. Just like I would tell you, if you're going to do something, do it well and leave something witchy. Leave a sign to let the world know that you were there.
Now, we know Charles Manson was kind of off his rocker in a lot of ways. And even though he claims he's not a man of violence, we know he is. All right. And so there are a couple of things about what he said that stood with me as far as this case goes. The first thing he said was he had a Confederate sword in his kitchen. And remember, Kopaka had a machete in his apartment. There's a picture of it on the screen, remember? And so that's the similarity. And then he said, leave something witchy. Now listen, when you put both of those together, both of them fit. Kopaka had a Confederate sword in his house. He had a machete. And they did leave something. I don't know if you would call it witchy, but they left something. And so there are so many elements in this article that match up with Kopaka. Words can't explain how many times, I've run into things that match like that, right? They match. And so I have to say, every time I look at the military aspect and everything, I already felt like Kopaka fit that profile to a T. But then after listening to all of it, I showed you a snippet of the Manson interview with Diane Sawyer, but I'll listen to the whole thing. And this guy is saying some things that line up with what evidence we have. We know for a fact that Kopaka had the machete, or for all we know, it could be a sword. People that do these types of crimes usually look up to somebody that's infamous for doing it. In other words, somebody that would commit a mass unaliving like that. They look up to people who have already done something like that. Those are their heroes. Okay. And so it's possible that whoever did it was influenced by if Kopaka was involved, maybe he was influenced by some of what Manson has said, because Charles Manson has done multiple interviews, and some of the stuff he says to me, like he was saying, crime is mundane, and he was kind of giving an overview of how criminals operate in general, stuff that's universal. You understand what I'm saying? And so these things are matching. Susan, let me put your comment on there. All right. And then let me change my banner for the international viewers quickly. I think it's a ticker. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Susan. I don't want to make this sound complicated more than what it is, but if you just give me a chance to explain, it's not all that complicated, and these similarities are becoming blaring. All right, they're becoming glaring. So we have the pseudo commando military aspect. I told you a few days ago that one of the characteristics of the pseudo commando is to have multiple weapons in their residence. And we see that with Kopaka. He had at least one gun and one sword or one machete or whatever you want to call it. He had at least one of each in his apartment. And so to me, he probably had more than that. That's all we know about. So and then he has the military background. And I hate to talk about somebody that's already passed away, okay? But the fact of the matter is, nobody called and told the police that Kopaka was out of control, and then the police came up and took his life. That I believe that at the beginning, but after I watched the news reports and read about it again, Kopaka was outside his apartment with the weapon. He was one of the roommates got out first, and one of them was still in there. And Kopaka had actually left out the apartment and was pacing, by the stairs with the gun. And then when he shot, I think they shot him through the window. I think he shot through the window first, and then they shot back through that same window. So it wasn't like somebody set him up to have the FBI come and do that. The only way that would be true is if somebody gave him some kind of psychotic drug, knowing he was going to lose his grip, because he was outside the apartment pacing with the weapon and doing stuff to where people had to call the police. And the roommates weren't cleared at the same time. One of them got out before the officer got there. You can hear that in the 911 call. And then the other one got out. And another thing, like I said, he was outside the apartment for a bit, and then I guess at some point he went back in and shot through that window. And so people were saying Brian is the one that swatted Kopaka. People were saying, the sheriff did this or the sheriff did that. Listen, if he came out of his apartment with a weapon, threatening people, and he wouldn't put the weapon down, and then he shot at the police, they had to, I'm not going to say they had to unalive him, but they definitely had to respond back because he was aggressive, and that was the apartment complex. Okay, so I had the wrong impression. I thought that somebody called and reported him. Maybe he wasn't doing anything, but somebody called and got him swatted like that. But that's not how it happened. Now, as far as them having to actually take him out, I don't see where they had to do that. I don't see where they actually had to, inflict a fatal wound on Kopaka. And I find it very suspicious that they would do that knowing he's a veteran. All right? Or because this went on for hours. They had plenty of time to find out who he was, that he had mental issues, PTSD, and whatever. They had time to do it. So they knew who was in the apartment. They knew he was a veteran. And so I'm thinking maybe, silencing him like that, that part was intentional once they got there. But then they have to have, it leads to more questions. And why did they wipe his phone? Let me put that up. That's the most important question. All right, where's everybody at? Susan's on a roll here. Alice there, where you at? Where's Blah? Where's everybody? Vicky, where? Oh, okay, some people, MRLM. Y'all can comment. Listen, I know some of y'all are driving. Some people let me know they were driving. And so you can't text. I really don't want you to try to text. But this is an excellent question. This is my theory, and this is what got everybody mad with me about the last two videos. Because I was saying, what if Brian's communication between Kopaka and Brian, what if it was there in his phone? What if it was there in his phone? Okay, Susan, I heard that there was no one with him, and why did they call his best friend on the phone? Now, on the 911 call, it says the police. You can hear the policeman saying that the guy is pacing on the banister, and one of them got out. You can hear that on the 911 call. You can actually hear that. So there were roommates in the apartment. I played the 911 call on one of those clips. I'm not sure which one. I think it was the second one. Let me look. I renamed them so you can easily find them. The name of them, I need to find it on my phone. The name of them are Kopaka Pseudo Commando. It's part 1 and part 2. I'm getting ready to add part 1 on there right now because it should be on there. So you can find them very easily. And this one that I'm getting ready to drop is going to be part 3. Okay? So right quick, I'm going to just put part 1 on there. Hold on a second. I need to put part 1. I really do. All right. So what we talk about right now is actually part 3. All right. And y'all are getting kind of like a preview of it. But I relabeled the other two, Kopaka Pseudo Commando part 1 and 2. So you can easily find all of the videos about this study. All right. Now, good. Now on part 2, I showed a 911 call. I showed a 911 call, and it shows the policeman saying, you can hear the dispatcher saying Brent, and it says he's 35-year-old male, and it says and she eventually says one of them got out, and I think he was already with a police. I don't know, but she said one of them got out. And the policeman was saying, I'm not sure which window is his. You can hear that on the 911 call. All right. Terry Sleuth. Oh, hey, Terry, you found me. Yay. Shout out to Terry. Hold on, let me give Terry a shout out. Because y'all think I'm joking about forgetting what day it is. I start working on these videos and stuff, lose track of time and everything else. But I didn't even realize the day was Wednesday. I know y'all, I know that's a lame excuse, but I'm telling the truth. I'm telling you the truth, the honest truth. All right, Terry, Ena Harsh told a policewoman on body cam he's been hanging out with Brent Kopaka and his little sister. You know what, Terry, I really would love to have that source. Please, I'm begging you. I would love to have that source because Oh my goodness, that would make such a big difference in this research I've got going on right now. 'Cause I know I'm on to something. I know for a fact I'm on to something. I know for a fact I'm on to something. And so I gotta keep pursuing it. Let me open up the live on my phone. I'm telling you, this is ridiculous. That I keep forgetting my own meeting. All right. We need to talk about this. When did Eden Hart say this? I really, really, really need that source. I need that source, Terry. BK strongly suspected of knowing Kopaka. He is. And I've had people saying that they don't want they keep saying that they did know each other and it's, it's a long shot and blah, blah, blah. No, it's very likely. Two people living within a mile or two of each other in two different states across the country. That's a big enough coincidence right there. Alice there, I'm just listening. Alice there, you got to get on the stage today. I'm just listening and glad you're bringing up Brent, as I am thinking that the show was put there by his mate, the cop that took 4 hours to get there because he was cleaning himself up. All right, let me put this on the screen. Alice there, you not getting on the stage today? Now listen, I ain't gonna bother y'all. I ain't tripping. I'll put the link in there, but y'all don't have to get on if you don't want to, because I'm all off schedule and stuff. So I can't make no demands. I can't make these demands, and I don't even know what day of the week it is. All right. Now listen. It's very likely that this guy. It's very likely that they knew each other. It's very possible. Very possible. And so if they knew each other, my question is, who is the leader and who was the disciple? Because somebody said that Brian could have been helping him plan the perfect murder, like not knowing he was actually going to do it. Or maybe helped them plan it, and he wasn't there. He wasn't actually involved with the actual crime, but he helped them plan it so nobody would get caught. And maybe Kopaka had disciples. He had two 20-year-old roommates we're not allowed to talk about. Or maybe he had other people. I don't know. All I'm saying is that's 4 people right there. That's 4 people right there. So how can you say they didn't know each other? And if Terry can come up, I would love to just have that source where he said, I would like to have the source of Eden talking about Kopaka. I would love to have that. I missed it. I missed that. I need that. Because it fits into this perfectly. I don't know why I don't have that. So these people, that's 4 people. If Brent and Kopaka knew each other, especially that, almost like childhood friends, because that was years ago that Kohlberger was living in that city. So, if they over here in Washington together, that might not have even been by accident. Be honest with you. That might not even been by accident that they ended up over there in Washington together. They might have planned to move over there together way back when they were in Pennsylvania. Susan Gardner, you are making so much sense. Thank you. Shout out to Susan for coming and finding me. Thank you. Much love, Susan. I appreciate you. Now, listen, we need that. I need that source for the, I keep saying the same thing, but we need that source. We need the source. I need that source from Enid Harsh talking about Kopaka. I need that. Email me. All right. So what was I saying? Yes, it's not so far-fetched that they knew each other. And you know, Brian could have been helping them plan it. Brian could have just got over there, realized he had a good spot. But even though they wasn't treating Brian right as a TA, they kept, you know, they wasn't treating him right at WSU. So even if he got over there and said, and they were treating him right, he probably would have called it off and tell Kopaka, no, I'm gonna stay with this. You know, this is my job, my future, whatever. But they weren't treating him right. And remember in the study it said, "Oh, I love you too, Susan. Now you know I love you. Thank you so much. Let me show you some love. Let me send some love out for everybody." All right. Much love, much love. No, we need love up in here. We gotta have that. We're gonna always have that. Now, what I'm saying is, think about this. What if Brian, because remember in the article, it said long and deliberate planning under pseudo commando. It said they usually take a long time and they're very deliberate when they plan and they plan this. Remember it said that? So what if they planned it way back in Pennsylvania and then came to Washington? All they had to do was pick a place. Once they got to Washington, all they had to do was pick a place. Right? And this is hypothetical. This is just us talking about theory. So if you burning up in your underwear right now, because we talking about Kopaka and Kohlberger in Pennsylvania and this theory, then that means that you are not unbiased about this case. That means you can't handle the truth, what it may be. Because if they came on the news right now and said this is exactly how it happened, you have to accept that. And the truth of the matter is, none of us know exactly what happened. We're all speculating. And we can all be wrong. Listen, remember when I put the stuff up about the Enron and Elizabeth Holmes? If all of those investors could have been fooled, all right, then we can be fooled. Anybody can be fooled. We think we know. We think we got this down pat on certain points, but anybody can be fooled. I'm not beyond the point where I don't believe that I could be fooled about this case. I got my gut feeling. I got what I've been reading in the papers and listening to on the news. I got what I've been hearing other influencers say that made sense to me. And so I put all that together and here we are. But I can be fooled just like anybody else can be fooled. Now you can fool everybody some of the time. And you can fool, you know, I don't know how the saying goes, some of the people all of the time. But you can't fool everybody all the time. Sooner or later, something's gonna pop up to expose the truth. And so we're not under a contract to where we're not allowed to speak about theories that might include Brian. Not just as the person that committed the crime, because I don't believe for 1 minute that he went in there between 4 and 4:20 and did that by himself. That's out the window for me. But that does not mean that I can't explore other theories to where he might have known who did do it. Because there has to be a reason why he's in the hot seat, especially if Kopaka was involved and Kopaka's no longer here. If he's in the hot seat, it's because he knew about it. Even if he didn't commit any crime, he knew about it. If they knew each other, he knew about it. All right? The body cam went in and asked the police if she wanted to play with his cat. I remember that one. I don't remember hearing about the about Kopaka in that one. Terry, how did I miss that? Or maybe I saw it, but it didn't mean anything to me at that time. All right, shout out to Carrie T. Maybe Kopaka found out his roommates were involved in the Idaho 4. We still have no idea who those two guys are. All right, let me give you a shout out, Carrie. That's a very strong point to bring up, and I'm glad because I have a good response to that. All right, I got a hot point to that one. Hold on, let me give you a shout out, Carrie. That's an excellent talking point. Now, by the time I finish this, everybody gonna know everything about this video I'm trying to drop today. It's just over with. I'm just have to start over because it's not that many people. I can still drop it. All right, Carrie's point. Here's my opinion of that. My opinion of that is if Kopaka had a shrine in his apartment with a machete or a sword or whatever it was, and all this gruesome stuff and crazy stuff he's been posting, if his roommates were involved, I just don't see him being anything other than the leader of the bunch. And he was what, 35, 36, and his roommates were 20. I believe they were involved, that he was the charismatic leader. That's what I believe. Let me go back to my picture. This is what I believe on that point right there, Carrie. I believe that if those two roommates were involved, which is completely possible, okay, we're allowed to talk about it. I mean, dang, we could say something about it without getting attacked, because I mean, I got so much blowback in those last two videos. Oh, the one about the hard truth. They tried to show it on me so bad, but I don't care about that. I can have my opinion. Okay, and if you don't agree with it, tell me what your opinion is. But if you start calling me names and talking to me like somebody on the playground, poking fun at me and stuff, then I'm not going to take you seriously. I'm just ignore what you say, because you can't even have an adult conversation. Now, if you can have an adult conversation and you have an opinion that's opposite to mine, or you can point out something that I said that wasn't on the up and up and you have evidence, hey, let's talk. But all that other mess, nobody cares, okay? If you unsubscribe and go run somewhere, okay, people do that all day long. If that's what you got to do, do it. Because we can talk about whatever we want to. We can have opinion about whatever we want to, okay? And if you don't agree with that opinion, fine. Give us yours. But all that other kindergarten stuff, we don't do that here. And so if you're struggling in the comment section, if I had to delete some of your comments, you had to really be out of order, because I don't even delete comments. I don't have time for that. But you had to be really out of order for me to delete something. All right, so let me get off of that, wasting time. What I'm saying is, I believe if the two roommates were involved, and it's likely that they know something just because of their age. 20 years old, you had to know something. You right along the age of the Idaho 4. You right along that age. Okay, then I believe if that's the case, Carrie, there's no way Kopaka was in there and they had all that going on and he didn't know about it. And I don't see two 20-year-olds even being able to successfully pull something like that off without somebody more mature helping them plan it. That's what I think. I think that somebody more mature than two 20-year-olds would have had to plan that, because it was very deliberate. There was nothing sexual involved, and nobody took anything. The purpose for going in there and doing what they did was solely to take lives, and that's what they did. That's very disciplined, that whoever went in there, if it was males, that out of the 3 victims, none of them were molested, so to speak. And so they went in there for to handle business, and the business was a hit. That's what it was, Carrie, a hit. Nobody was, I mean, all 3 of those girls were very attractive girls, beautiful girls. None of them were touched in that manner that we know of. So to me, back to our study, it's lining up. It's saying money, sex, and material things are not a part of the planning or the expectation. That's what the study said. I'm telling y'all need to read this study. I'm putting it in. I put a link to the study in both videos. If not, I will make sure it's in all 3 of these. They know what they're on the money. They're on the money. Manson is the charismatic leader, and everything in the study, it's got Manson right on the money. It's got him right on the money. So to answer that, I believe if the 2 roommates are involved, I don't see that happening without Kopaka not only knowing about it, but being the ringleader, getting up a posse to do this type of thing. That's my opinion. All right, let me go back to my video. All right, I'm gonna play a little bit more of it just right quick so you can see what I mean. In the last 2 episodes of this series, we talked about the pseudo-commando typology of a mass murderer and how it could fit Kopaka. However, the typology for the disciple and the pseudo-commander are very similar. And when you think about it, whenever there is more than one person involved in a crime, there's usually a leader. Before we get into the study and learn about the disciple typology, I want to point out that I find it extremely interesting that Charles Manson said he had his Confederate sword in his kitchen and he told his followers to leave something at the scene. Okay, I want to go to these questions at the end. All right, here's question number 1. All right, question number 1 is, why would Kopaka snap an entire month after the Idaho 4 crimes? All right, that's the question. Susan Gardner, I think at least 2 people were involved in the unaliving. Absolutely. At least 2. There's no way one person went in there and did all this, especially even if they had more time, because the house is too big. The dog had to be squared away. The bodies were found in 2 different rooms on 2 different floors. All that took time and planning and ingenuity and muscle. And so there's no reason why we would believe that one person was able to do it. I don't. I really don't. All right. Now, here's how spirits work on people. You're right about that, Carrie. Maybe the frat boys were friends with Brent K. All right, let's try that. That's a good point. That's an excellent point because, hey, the point of the matter is, Kopaka fits the profile of the pseudo-commando and the charismatic leader. He fits the profile for both of them. And the shrine in his house and that weapon and the gun, they don't help his case at all. And so I hate to talk about somebody deceased, rest in peace, son, because I really feel like, when somebody has mental issues and they do something like this, it's our fault. It's society's fault. Just like with Andre Lamore, his mother said she was trying to get mental help for him for years. And even though he's a veteran, she couldn't get, they were saying they couldn't force him to get mental health help, even though he needed it really bad. Okay, even though he needed it really bad, Andre Lamore's mother said she was trying to get help for him for years. This guy was a sergeant. He went and killed 4 neighbors. It's just the inverse of Idaho 4. Instead of 3 females and a male, he went and it was 3 males and 1 female. And then, like the neighbor said, he was calm when he did it. He said he was so calm. We have somebody that watched the person leave the scene doing something like that. And he said that what shocked him was how calm Andre Lamore was when he was doing it. And then when they finally caught up with him, he was shooting back at the police. And they had to take his life. It's not the Idaho 4 case is not as big of a mystery as people making it out to be. We just need to stop ignoring certain things because they're taboo. We're not allowed to involve Bryan Kohberger's name in any of the theories because he's innocent. We're not allowed to talk about Kopaka because he was a veteran and his best friend said we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. We're not allowed to talk about any of the victims' personal lives because they were students. We're not allowed to talk about DM and BF because they're survivors and we're shaming the survivors. We're not allowed all these taboos and all these fences they're putting up for us, so we're not allowed to talk about it. And then it's supposed to be a gag order. Give me a break. We're looking for the truth, and we're gonna jump over all these hurdles until we get to it because we want to know who did it. Robert K. Shout out to Robert K. Let me see what he said. I'm hearing more about the frat boys online. All right. Good to see you, Robert. All right. Let me show you some love. Give you a shout out. I should have gave a brain for Carrie's comment, but I'll get a chance to give one out. I'll give a chance to get one out. Just hold on a second. All right. Now, back to our question. Why would Kopaka snap an entire month after the murders? Okay, I would think that his psychotic break would be I would think his psychotic break would have been soon after, like the day after or a week after. Andre Lamore, it was whenever they caught up with him. But why was his psychotic break so far after the actual Idaho 4 crimes? Anybody have an idea? All right, Carrie, that's Xana's mom said, okay, we're going to come back to that. We're going to put a pin in it, Carrie. We're going to come back to that. I want to stay on this track with this question, and then I'll come back and when we get on that topic, okay? Matter of fact, let me write myself a reminder. Oh, I'm going to change my office around, and now I can't find stuff. Hold on, let me get another sheet for my notes. All right, here it is. Now, we're going to talk about that. But right now, I want to talk about this question that I have on the screen before we end up all over the place. And you know, that's not good for me because I have y'all confused. I'll be confused and I have y'all confused. All right, so I got notes here on stuff I need to go back to. All right, Brent, here's Susan, has a theory. Brent may have found out who did it, and that is why he was taken out by the FBI. Yes, that's true. But if he found out who did it, who do you think he found out did it? It had to be somebody that the FBI didn't want their name to get out, right? That's one theory. Y'all come on. I want more than one theory. I need you to talk to me. Talk to me. All right, and the stage is open. I'm gonna keep putting this link out there. Elder say he ain't gonna be bothered with the stage today. We got a couple people driving. All right, but the stage is still open. Oh, Brent could have found out police or political was involved. Oh, my goodness. That's a great one. If LE is involved, because we got a lot of military in law enforcement, right? We have a lot of military in law enforcement. Hold on just a minute. What is okay, all right, hold on. Let me change the screen. Now, what do you think about this for Susan's comment? Remember, we're looking for pseudo commando, and we're looking for remember this picture? We got military in MPD. I'm sure we have it in WSU also, but we definitely have military theme in MPD. All right. Welcome, Minville gal. All right. I think this is your first Heart True Live, maybe. Welcome. All right. Hold on, let me get back over there. All right, much love to you. Much love to you all. Now, let's see. We definitely have a military theme in law enforcement, so Susan has a good point. Maybe he did, I don't know if he would know these people, but maybe he did. Maybe he did know, but it's also possible that he was the pseudo commando. All right, because we can't ignore his but Susan, you have a point there, because the question was, why did he snap 30 days, about 30 days after? You have a point there, because now that I think about it, that maybe that was the time they started messing with him, that maybe they just started messing with him, or I just don't know. That's a long time after a crime to finally have a psychotic break because of the crime. Okay, if the psychotic break was related to the crime, I would have to say that law enforcement had to start messing with him, snooping around or whatever. Or maybe somebody in the group was threatening to tell, and he snapped. Like, you can't talk. We keep talking about the frat and how they don't share information. They keep stuff a secret. Well, in a group like Charles Manson group, they can't talk either, right? I can't see any of Charles Manson's followers actually telling the press that or telling the police anything. If anything, they'll commit suicide before they tell the police. So we have secrecy among the frat members, but we also have secrecy among criminals. All right, let's see what Meanville Girl has to say. Vets learn how to compartmentalize their inner thoughts or emotions, and then something happens that triggers it. All right, let's see. What was the trigger? We need, that's what we're looking for, the trigger. We're looking for the trigger. What could have been the trigger 30 days after the crime? Okay, Susan said maybe the police were messing with him. Maybe the two roommates were saying they were going to tell, or maybe they need to go to the police, or somebody said the police are closing in or whatever. I don't know. What do you think the trigger is, Meanville girl, Gal? I'm gonna just call you Gal because I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm gonna just say Gal, M Gal. I'm gonna call you M Gal. Give you a shout out so you know what your name is in here. All right. We got B River Girl and M Gal. That's your name from now on in here now. So you know I'm talking to you. All right. What? Fry interviewed him by phone, I heard. Oh, I need evidence on that. I need evidence on that. All right, let me go back to the next comment. All right, this is blah. Maybe Brent found out Payne Brothers did it. We've had discussion on that. Okay, my investigation was of Payne, Opie. All right, but I never went so far as his siblings. But other people have. Other people have. And so, Blah, you may have something there. These are excellent theories, excellent speculation, excellent. All right, M. Gal. What about that dog that was found skinned that has something to do with this? I truly believe. All right, that fits the pseudo commando profile of somebody with a bunch of weapons in their home that would do something like that. It definitely fits the pseudo commando profile. I don't think it fits the disciples, but I definitely think it does fit the pseudo commando. All right, Terry. Political university and law enforcement are strong enough institutions to silence the entire community. Yes, they are. And so is organized crime. I hate to say it. I hate to say it, but so is organized crime. So is organized crime. They have the power to make everybody shut up and brush stuff under the rug. I'm just saying, you're right, Terry. That's true. Terry, why do you think Kopaka had that episode there almost 30 days after the crimes? Just assuming that he had something to do with it or knowledge of it. Why did he have that? Why didn't he have that psychotic break earlier? That's bugging me. That's bugging me. I would like to know. I need for that to fit in this theory, and it's out there. All right, hold on. Okay, M-Gal. It could have been that they got wind that they were gonna pin this on someone else. And sometimes the real criminals get upset if they know somebody else is getting the recognition. Oh, now that's interesting. Because most of these psychotic killers, they don't want anybody else to take credit for it. You're right. Hey, I'm gonna take that one right there. M-Gal, I really believe. I like that. I like that as an explanation. I'm gonna take that. Let me write some of this down for my study because I that fits. Recognition. All right, they don't even like copycats. When they do some infamous crimes, they don't even like a copycat. If there's a copycat, They'll be like, you're right, you're right. I like that one. I like that one. All right, you get a brain for that. I'm gonna give you a brain for that. I need to give out some brains. Gal got the first brain. All right, there you go. All right. Now that was great. I'm feeling that all the way. All right. Let's see. Terry, the dog Buddy Skin eliminated a barking dog for a getaway path. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what you mean, Terry. All right. Kopaka was a weak link for some reason. Maybe he was the most emotional one, just a thought. Right. Yeah, let me write that down. This is good. You're going to help me with my next video, Gal. I'm glad you came. Wow. Boy, you giving some great insights. Now, you fit with the rest of the crew, my members, because they need some big thinkers in here. So you fit right in. Let's see. Robert K. Do you think the long time before trial helps, BK? The more I think about this case, the less I believe the narrative. No, I do not believe it helps him at all. No, I think that he can be in prison. I mean, he can be in jail waiting to go to trial for 4 to 5 years. 5 years he can wait. Some people have waited that long to go to trial. And if you're innocent of a crime, I don't care what crime it is, you should want to get out of jail. And your people should want to try to get you out of jail. That's a natural human reaction. If your loved one is locked up and they didn't do it, there should be some urgency to bring them home. I don't see any urgency at all on the part of Kohberger or the defense for him to get up out of that jail. And to me, that is not natural. I don't care if you got nerves of steel. I don't care if you a psychopath or whatever. Nobody wants to be locked up unless you just you don't. And I think the longer this, people got mad at me because I said the speedy trial was waived because Bryan Kohberger doesn't have an alibi. But I stand by that. That's my opinion, and I'm standing on it. Because think about it, Robert. If somebody knocked on your door right now, while we sitting here on this live, all of you, if somebody knocked on your door right now, the police, and say you being arrested, and you say, what's the charge? They say murder or quadruple murder, whatever, and they drag you down to the precinct, you're gonna be like, what? You're gonna be freaking out. You're gonna be like, first of all, how did you get my name? And who said I did it? And who did I unalive? Who? And when you get to the precinct, what's the first thing they're going to ask you? What's the first thing they're going to ask you when they sit you down at the precinct? The first thing they're going to ask you is, where were you on the night of November the 13th? That's the first thing they're going to ask you. And if you can't tell them, well, you finna be on that gravy train. You get ready to be on that gravy train. If you can't tell them where you were that night, the first thing the police do when they take you to the jail is sit you down in one of those rooms and, just for the sake of, cosmetics or whatever, the first thing they're going to ask you is, where were you on the night of whatever they accusing you of? That's the first thing they ask you. And so based on your answers, if your alibi is strong enough, they'll let you go home. They might keep investigating you, but if you can say where you were and you got a witness or something, one person can say, yeah, that's where the person was. A lot of times they won't even dress you out and put you on the block. They let you go home. or they'll send you before the judge and the defense attorney, public attorney, whoever, tell the judge, hey, my client was over here and so is saying they would. The judge will give you a bond. That's not to say that they won't stop investigating you, but they're not going to hold you and risk being liable for a whole bunch of nasty things if you turn out to be innocent, if you have an alibi. Just because you out on bond don't mean they're not investigating you no more. Or just because they let you out, without arresting you because you have an alibi. But the first thing the police ask you is, do you have an alibi? I mean, where were you on this night right here? And if the person says, I was at blah, blah, the first thing they're going to say is, can anybody vouch for you? Was anybody there with you that can say? And when they gave Kohberger's alibi, they stated that there was no one to corroborate it. The same day that they put out that he was driving around, they also put out, I saw it myself. They put out that it couldn't be corroborated. I got people in the comments in my videos telling me right now, and I raised my hand to God, you're not supposed to swear. So I ain't gonna say on the Bible. But I'm telling you, I got people right now telling me that I forgot what I was talking about. What was I saying? Oh, somebody told me BK is smart and they're gonna explain about his driving around that night, and they're gonna prove that he was driving around. Let me tell you something. If you got some evidence that's gonna help you get out of jail, you're gonna put that up the first day you walk into jail. Because most people don't even want to go on the block. Okay? They don't even want to get dressed out and go on the block. When you first go to jail, you go in a holding cell while they process you. And if they find out, if somebody bond you out, or somebody or they find out something to where they can let you out, they'll let you out from there. But if it seems like you're gonna be in jail for a while, they go ahead and dress you out. They go ahead and put you on a jumpsuit and put you on the block with everybody else. Once you get on the block, it's pretty much a wrap unless you got some court cases coming up that might help you out. No, they already said there's no corroborating him driving. I'm not saying Bryan Kohberger wasn't driving around. I'm not saying that. I didn't say that in the video. What I'm saying is, if somebody accused you of quadruple murder, the first thing they're going to ask you when you're arrested is, where were you on November the 13th? And a big part of them going through with the arrest and putting you in jail is if you couldn't tell them where you were. That's not to say he's guilty or innocent. That's just saying him not having an alibi is not helping his case. And one reason I believe Ann Taylor was not prepared to go to a speedy trial is because she can't say where he was. And I'm going to show you another reason why saying he was driving around is not good. Now that Robert brought this up, let me change my screen right quick. Don't get me upset. Because some of this stuff is just ridiculous what I'm hearing. And it's your opinion. I'm not calling your opinion ridiculous or crazy or calling you names when what you're saying makes absolutely no sense to me. So, hey, don't do it to me. The reason Kohberger is on that gravy train is because he does not have an alibi. Because if you have an alibi, when people arrest you, they don't just take you to jail and regardless of where you, and then regardless, let me show you what I mean. Robert, you brought up a good point. I'm going to show you another reason why he messed up when he said that. Because if can't nobody prove you was driving around, you could have gave any alibi, anything better than that. Let me tell you another reason why they couldn't go to speedy trial, because of what he said. Now, you remember they said this is his route. This is where he went after the crime. This is what the PCA said. Remember that now. Remember they said this is where he drove after. This is what they said in the PCA. So now you telling me that you telling the police that you was out driving around. And so that make it seem possible that these phone pings do belong to you, because you telling people not only were you not at home, you was driving around. And so that make it seem like maybe he was over there with, maybe he was driving through Blaine and Genesee and Uniontown. Maybe he was. That make it seem like some of what was in the PCA was true when you say that. And so that's why I said the reason why this is taking so long is because Aaron Taylor don't have that much to work with. He can't say where he was and prove it. I can tell you where I was last night right now. But unless I got some evidence, it's just what I told you. It's not necessarily the gospel. That's just what I told you, unless somebody can corroborate it. And so I stand on what I said. I believe that him not having an alibi would been a challenge for Ann Taylor from day one. When she first got him as a client and found out that he couldn't give her a solid alibi with corroborating witnesses, she knew that she was going to have to fight. That doesn't necessarily mean he's guilty or innocent. It just means that he can't say where he was and prove it. If you can't prove it, you can't say where you were. He said he was driving around. He does have an alibi. That's not an alibi. If you can't prove it, it's not an alibi. He can say he was at McDonald's in Texas. What's the difference? If you can't corroborate neither one of them. All right, let's move on before I make some more people mad. I see 1 or 2 people left, so good. Because if you can't handle somebody else's opinion, then you're not mature enough to be in this live. If you can't handle somebody else's opinion without being abusive or throwing a fit and stomping out the door, then you're not mature enough to be in my lives. And that's just a fact, because whatever I say right now, if I say right now, I believe Brian did it, I believe he was going with all 4 of them. And I can prove it. If I say that right now, if you can't laugh it off and say, well, that's kind of crazy, hard truth, or I disagree, and we keep talking, then you're not mature enough to be in this live, because everybody's opinion is welcome, including mine. And I'm not going to let anybody take that away from me. I'm not going to take your opinion away from you, and I'm not going to let you take mine away from me. All right? And then if somebody else's opinion makes you angry about a case of people you don't even know, then maybe you're a little too mentally and emotionally invested. Because I want to solve this crime, but I'm not going to have a stroke behind it either. All right, let's see. Where was I in the comments? Yep. Let's see. Shout out to LA. I don't know what that is, but good to see you. Shout out to LA. Right quick. All right, these lives and videos I'm doing this is for grown folks. You know, I'm in graduate school. We talk about all kinds of stuff, and I have yet to have somebody call me a name in our discussions. I have yet to have somebody call me a name. Shout out to Tam Era. All right, where we at? The Netherlands? Holland in the house. Ha ha! All right, Tam, I see you. Shut up. Hold on, I got you. Hold on, Tam. Now, let me find one of your now. I say, let me see the warrant. Well, look how they broke into Koberger's family home. They didn't have a chance to say that. They just bum rushed the house and snatched him out. That wasn't gonna help him. Right. Okay. Robert, sure, no one wants to be in jail, but I think time may make jurors not believe the narrative. Robert, we're not on the same page. And so we have two different opinions on this one right here. Because I don't think time really is going to make a difference for the jurors. Because if the trial is held a year from now or 3 years from now, the jurors going to sit down and hear all the evidence from the beginning. And and me personally, if I was a juror, I would want to know where the defendant was. And if I get up there and I say, well, where was he? And the rest of the jurors tell me he said he was driving around, I would start shifting my feet, because I want to believe everybody's innocent until proven guilty. But if I'm on the jury and somebody accused of taking the lives of 4 kids, I'm gonna want to know where you were. And I can't say that I would vote him guilty. I couldn't vote him guilty. Not on the evidence that we have now. To me, it's not enough. It's not nearly enough. I wouldn't be able to vote him guilty, but I would not like the fact that I can't say where he was. I wouldn't like that. And I don't think time is going to affect how the jurors react. It could. It depends on where the jurors are, because we talked about going to another venue. All right. So in that case, Robert, you will be right, because they were saying that we were talking about, should it be moved to another venue? Should they move the trial out of Moscow? Matter of fact, let me put a poll in the chat. Let me give y'all a poll. Since you brought that up, let's talk about it that way. Because, it's a such thing as a change in venue. All right. Tam, anybody here also think Brian worked that night in some kind of authority function, and that this function brought him to the crime scene and from that point became a witness? This is just a question. I think something could have brought him to Moscow, but before I say it was working, I would say it's pills. I believe the only connection Brian Koberger could possibly have to this, other than being a psychopath along with Brent Kopaka, is pills. That he was coming to Moscow to get some kind of uppers or whatever to either help him keep working or to calm his nerves, because they was getting on his nerves on his job. That's the only 2 reasons why I would think that he would be in Moscow. Is the only reason I believe he would be in Moscow is drugs, some kind of pill or some street something. But what do y'all think? Tam has a good question here. Okay, and while you answering each other on that, I'm going to change back to question number 2 on my video. All right, let's go to question number 2. All right, here's question number 2. Kopaka snapped an entire month after the Idaho for unaliving. Number 2, why didn't Kopaka? All right, here's number 2. I don't know why it's green screen. All right, question number 2. Why did Kohlberger and his father say they knew Kopaka, that he was a friend, when they talked to the officer in Indiana? This is a problem I have with my theory of Kopaka. Why didn't they say they the first thing came out of their mouths? Now, let me show you on the screen. The first thing that came out of their mouths when they were stopped the first time was that Kopaka had been swatted. Remember that? I'm going to show it to you. First thing came out of that mouth was that he had been swatted. That's question number 2. Why didn't, if Kopaka was involved, or Brian, if Brian and Kopaka knew each other, why didn't they mention him as like a friend or whatever? Why didn't they mention him as a friend at the traffic stop? Now, that part right there doesn't make sense to me. That part right there doesn't make sense to me. I need some explanation on that. All right, let's listen. I would like to know, why didn't Kohlberger and his father, if they knew each other, seemed to me like at least Kohlberger would have said, he was a friend of mine or whatever. Or maybe the daddy, who don't know what's going on, if Brian was involved, his daddy wouldn't have known anything about it. So why didn't the daddy say, he was a friend of the family, or my son knew him? Why didn't he say that? Let's look at it again. Hold on. Let's look at it again. All right, let's check this out again. I think this was the first stop.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing? Good. Take your driver's license real quick if I could. See, he's right up on the van, man. He's right up on the back of that van. Over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay. Cool. Where you headed?
Well, we're coming from WSU. And
What's WSU?
University, basically. That is SWAT team area.
So I'm having a hard time reading because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University?
He just said SWAT.
Oh.
We're going to be going over today.
His daddy said SWAT already.
We're finally going to be driving hours.
Days.
Right.
Well, yeah. Okay. And what did you say about some SWAT team thing? Or
there was a mass shooting and everything.
Where? Interesting.
Well, horrifying. He's going to the university, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So y'all work at the university there?
Actually, do work.
Oh.
PhD in criminal.
Okay.
All right, my question was, if they knew each other, why didn't why didn't the father or Brian, I know Brian probably would have never said nothing, but why didn't the father mention they knew him? I'm thinking maybe that's the only reason I don't think that they knew each other. Not necessarily true, but I need for this to fit, because seemed to me like when they reacted to it, it had been 3 hours since it had been 3 hours and 40 minutes since Kopaka had been shot. And so why didn't anybody in the car say they knew him? Why didn't the daddy say, well, he was a friend of my son or whatever? All right, Gal. After work, I always take a drive by myself. I decompress like that after my job. A lot of people do that. A lot of people take a drive. Some people take a drive to put their kids to sleep in the evening because they won't settle down. I'm not saying Brian didn't take a drive. I'm saying he can't prove it. I'm saying that he didn't take. If he's not on camera anywhere, didn't stop at a gas station somewhere where maybe he would have to pass and maybe get a ticket for the toll road, anything to suggest he was out on the road in any area other than King Road. He doesn't have that. And it's not his fault he doesn't have it. If he's innocent, he wasn't planning to be charged with anything. It's not his fault. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't help. And it's just a one big coincidence that for the exact time that this is going on, he can't prove where he was, Gal. I'm not saying maybe he was for a long drive, but he was for a long drive the exact 2 hours that his phone is not picking up. Was it for this exact 2 hours? Because is he disputing that he arrived back in Pullman at 5 something in the morning? I don't get it. Because if that's the case, if he's going for a long drive, seemed to me like, I mean, he just drove nonstop for 2 hours. He just drove and went back to his apartment. He didn't stop anywhere that he could go back and say, well, hey, I was here on such and such a day. Can you pull your camera? Or do you remember me? Can you at least, say I could have been in here? Nothing. It just, his phone was off, and he was doing something to where nobody can corroborate it. It's starting to pile up. The ambiguity is piling up, is what I'm saying. We talk about a legal case where somebody is going to get up and try to make it seem like you did it, whether you did it or not. It's not child's play. And so to say, well, I was driving around. Maybe he was, but he was driving around. He doesn't have toll road receipts. And I know that's some no man's land out there in Idaho. I don't know about Washington, but it's some places in Idaho you can drive for miles and never pass anything, from what I could see on Google Maps. But in Florida, in some states, in some places, you have toll roads, you have cameras that'll catch you speeding and take your tag picture. They have surveillance all over the United States. So if you were driving for 2 hours, you didn't pass nowhere that there would be a camera or a record of your car. You see what I'm saying? Because he needs that. I'm not saying it to say he's guilty. I'm saying he needs that. He needs it. And people say, oh, it's not his job to prove where he was. It's the prosecution's job. Okay. Keep saying that. Keep saying that all the way to where they sitting in the room watching them strap him to that electric chair. Keep saying that. Because if they got to prove something, meanwhile, he doesn't have his freedom. He doesn't have his freedom based on that PCA. And not only does he not have his freedom and he's been denied bond. Okay, I got called names and stuff about that. Say, oh, he's charged with murder. He's not going to get a bond. Yeah, it's people that get charged with murder that get a bond all the time. And if it was a question of him, if you can't get a bond for murder charges, why they wouldn't have had a bond hearing? There's no reason to have a bond hearing. It's different in different states. But if they had a bond hearing, somebody considered it and denied it. If he wasn't eligible in any case, they wouldn't have had a hearing. That's just common sense now. That's just common sense. And the reason people getting upset with me and trying to, push up on me is because they don't like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. If you are arrested in this country and you have an alibi, they might be determined to get you. It might be they're not going to stop until they put it on you, but they still have to follow the rules to a certain degree. And if you've been arrested, the first thing they're going to ask you is where you were during the time of the crime. You see, every time I talk about this, somebody leave the live, and then somebody else come in every time. That just proved my point. First of all, even if everything I'm saying right now makes no sense and is not according to the law, it's my opinion. And so if anybody will jump up and have a fit and leave over something somebody's saying in a conversation, to me, that's childish. Okay, that's something my students would do when I used to teach. That's something I expect a child to do, a young child. Okay, you need to be mature enough to be able to have a conversation. You need to learn. If you don't know how, you need to learn how to conversation with somebody that has different opinion than yours without you showing out. That's how do you keep a job? What if your boss man or boss woman says something you don't agree with? You gonna have a fit and walk off? Come on now. That's just a maturity thing. You don't have to agree with everybody, but at the same time, if you got to jump up and physically react to something that you didn't like that somebody said, to me, you need to learn how to have mature conversation, communication. I hear a lot of stuff I don't agree with. I don't agree with everything I read in these lives, but I want to hear it because it might stir something in me, answer a question I can't answer, or it might strengthen my argument. Okay, that's just common sense. That's just common sense. All right, but anyway, we're talking about the question. Let me go back to it because I'm not keeping up with the time, but I want to let's see. I want to go back to my question. Number 2, did we ever answer it? I'm going back to the chat. Give me 1 minute to go back to my question. All right, this was the question. Why didn't they say they knew Kopaka when they were telling the sheriff or the officer all of this stuff about what happened in Pullman? Why didn't they say something? Now let's see if anybody answered. He told him not to say he was a witness. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Carrie. Terry Slew's notoriety of this case keeps BK safe. Yeah, that's true. He for sure is better off where he is now, even though it's not the Ritz. Let me tell you something, Tam and Terry. It's nothing like your freedom. Okay, so it's different. It's a whole different ball game being in witness protection than it is being in jail. Okay, his family could hire him. Don't nobody want to be in jail. I'm sorry, nobody want to be in jail. And then if they let him out on bond, that seemed like maybe he didn't do it. So people won't be on his tail like they are now because he's in jail. Nobody want to be in jail. I don't wish that on anybody. That's his freedom. If he didn't do it, he shouldn't be in jail. And so if he nobody want to be in jail. I mean, let me take that back. I would not want to be locked up. I don't care what I'm being accused of. I don't care if all of America thinks I did it. I just have to get somewhere to hide. But I would not want to be in jail, especially not a little small county jail like that. I'm sorry. I wouldn't want to be in jail. I wouldn't want to be in jail. You know, I would just have to trust God. I'm not gonna sit in jail. I'm not gonna sit in jail for something I didn't do. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't sit in jail for something I didn't do. I can't do it. Hard to love that top in your pic. Oh, thank you, LA. Let me show you some love. That's one of my favorite blouses. All right. Oh, thank you. No, I don't wish that. Don't nobody need to be in jail, especially if they didn't do it. I think Brian is getting off on some of this popularity because he loves criminology anyway. And so for them to think that he is actually a quadruple murderer and he's not, I mean, that might be a little comical to him, but it's not funny because they're trying to pin this on him for real. All right, let's see. Who else? Alice there. Let's think about this. It was his father's link to the DNA. Okay, let me put Alice there on there. Let's think about this. It was his father's link to the DNA. That is why we are here today, and yet they have found nothing to point BK to the crime. Yeah, you're right, Alice there. You're right. I don't even know if I believe that they got the daddy's DNA out the trash. I don't even know if I believe that, Alice there. They might just be telling us that because they've been telling us some big ones from day one. There might just be another big one because they told us that he put the trash in the neighbor's trash can. That's to set us up for the law that they got his trash out of the neighbor's trash because there's no way they came on the Koberger property and got anything out the trash because the Kobergers wasn't playing that. And so I believe the only reason they said that Brian put his trash in the neighbor's trash can is so they can explain that they got the dad's DNA out of the neighbor's trash because they couldn't say they got it out of the Koberger's trash because they couldn't just walk up on those people's property like that and go in their trash. So the only place they could say they got it from was the neighbor's trash. And so that's where we got this rumor or their claim that Brian put it in the neighbor's trash. So I bet if we talk to Brian Kober right now, he'll tell us nobody put anything in the neighbor's trash. The neighbor's nowhere close by on those properties. Those houses are on big lots. They're big houses. I don't believe he walked all the way over to his neighbor's house and put something in their trash can. This is not like 1122 King Road where the houses are that close together to where one trash can just as good as another because the houses are so close together. That's not what it is. The driveway looked like it's about a quarter mile to me. So I just don't believe it. I don't believe they got Mr. Koberger's trash out of any trash can. I don't. All right. Let's go to question number 3. Let's go to question number 3. Let's go to question number 3. And that would be Okay, here's the last question. And his father mentioned that they knew Kopaka, that he was a friend maybe, when they were talking to the officer in Indiana about the swatting. Number 3, would Kopaka's roommates be disciples or at least know about the plan to strike in Moscow? All right, here's question number 3. Question number 3 is, if Kopaka was a leader, would his roommates be disciples or would they at least know about the plan to strike in Moscow? And I'm going to go over here and see if somebody, all right, Susan Gardner. This is a good point. We need to find out if the cameras on the street read license plate numbers or not. We do, Susan, because that's a long time to be driving without any record. Nobody, no restaurant, nobody, no toll road, no speedometer, checking people's speed, nothing. Nobody will have you on camera. Nobody. Maybe somebody does have him on camera driving that night. And he don't even realize there's evidence. Maybe that's what they need to be looking for. Maybe they do have him on camera. And if you were driving for 2 hours, what's the odds? What's the odds that nobody captured you? Not a camera, not a traffic device, not a restaurant security camera, somebody taking pictures. I don't know. What's the odds that you drove for 2 hours and there's no record of it? Maybe there is a record and they're looking for it right now, but they've been looking for it for 9 months, must be. Because they didn't even, listen, I ain't even gonna say that. I don't want to make people madder than they already are with me, because I don't even want to open that can of worms again, because I'm telling you, they couldn't handle it. When I put out the hard truth about the Idaho 4, they couldn't handle it. A lot of people couldn't handle it. It's just my opinion. I don't see what made people so upset. It's just my opinion. I mean, people get 38 hot when you tell them stuff that doesn't fit their narrative. I don't know why. It's just my opinion. And I think that this is a good idea, Susan. I think that somebody needs to go along the route that he drove. I don't care how long that route is, and look for some kind of camera or restaurant camera, and ask every single restaurant owner, because most restaurants have cameras of the parking lot. A lot of businesses do. Okay, go back to that day and see what events were going on. Maybe it was at night, but I would go and I would check every single camera on the route. Where did you drive? How many? You drove 80 miles. Okay, let's cover all 80 of those miles, and let's see if we can find a toll, something that measures speed, or looks at the license plate number if you speeding. Because even here in country Georgia, they have stuff in neighborhoods and different areas where if you speed, they'll send you a ticket in the mail and a picture of your vehicle, and you have to pay that or you have to come to court. And it's not just on the main highways and byways. That's a university town. They got to have surveillance out of the yin yang. So if he drove out of Pullman, okay, we see him leaving. They say they see him leaving at 2:44. We don't even know if the sightings of him leaving and coming between 2:44 and 5 something is actually him. We don't even know. He might not have left and went anywhere at 244. That might not even be his car on surveillance. We don't know. We just going by what they tell us in the PCA. All right. Let's look at some more comments. I mean, if they were, I better skip that. He definitely would also have been thinking if Brian was there here to help you boys, and that's why. All right, let's try what Tam is saying here. All right. The definitely would. I also have been thinking if Brian was the here to help you voice, and that's why DM identified him as the perpetrator. All right. Tam is saying maybe Koberger is the one saying, I'm here to help you inside the house. And even though he said that, DM identified him as the perpetrator. What y'all think about that? I'm just saying. All right. Shout out to Holland. Shout out to the Netherlands, New Zealand, Hungary, Kazakhstan, Turkey. We got a little crowd in these places too. So I want to let them know we see them. All right, LA, the jurors will be intimidated in Moscow. Why you say that, LA? Why do you say that? Huh? Why do you say that? I mean, if the jurors are from Idaho, they know all about this case. Who do you think they'll be intimidated by? They're already tampering with witnesses. All right. That's Carrie T. But these people from church, let me ask you first something. Leave the church alone now, Tam. Leave the church alone, Tam. Now, you be nice. They are against death penalty, yes or no? There's a death penalty in Idaho. There is a death penalty, Tam. Because if they go against DP, then we should stay. It is a death penalty. All right, MGal. I've been around to multiple places around YouTube, but this channel is the most welcoming and are thinking the same way. Thank you, MGal. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's a very nice channel. I enjoy each and every one of you. And I think we've had some great discussions, you know. And this is not a channel where everybody agrees. We're not even all agreeing on what we're talking about right now. It's just we choose to be respectful to each other. Learn from that. Okay? Some people just don't feel right unless they're in somewhere telling somebody they're wrong and calling them names. We don't do that here. Okay? Whatever you feel or believe, lay it on the table so we can talk about it. And the more opinions we have, the better. Welcome. This is supposed to be a members only live right here. Only members are supposed to be able to get in the Wednesday live. The only reason this live right here is not private is because I'm on StreamYard and I know how to make it members only in YouTube, but I don't know how to make it members only in StreamYard because it doesn't say members only, it says private. So I haven't figured that out yet. So typically this will be a private live on Wednesday. But since I barely even know what day of the week it is, I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just glad y'all showed up. I'm just glad you came because I'm barely keeping up with where I'm supposed to be and when. But this is a members only live. Tam Era, you've been hanging with me a long time. It's time for you to go ahead and spend that $2.99, become a member so you can get into the members only lives because I might have to go back to using the old software to make it private if I can't figure out how to do it on StreamYard. All right. Now, this is worth paying for. This StreamYard is excellent. It's much easier to use than what I was using before. It's got many more features. I can play music and whatnot. It's great. I love it. And I don't have to download it onto my computer. That's the big thing. Because what I was using before took a lot of space. It was heavy like a concrete brick. And so this is StreamYard is definitely better for me and better for you because I can show you more stuff faster. Okay, and I can change my background. I got so many backgrounds to show y'all. It's gonna be so pretty. You'll see. I've been working behind the scenes. I just need to learn how to work this stuff a little better. Okay, but this StreamYard is better and it's worth paying for. I paid my subscription. Me and V are still arguing a little bit back and forth because I had to bootleg one of my videos in August and I paid for that month. So hey, But this StreamYard's a blessing. I'm so grateful. Whoever told me to get on StreamYard, thank you. I can't remember who it was, but whoever told me, thank you so much. You are a lifesaver. Now, listen. Let me look at here and see who's saying what. Susan was saying, oh, and you still got about 30 minutes to get on the stage. If anybody want to get on the stage and speak, you're welcome. Just let me find a link and put it over there. You don't have to. But if you would like to get on the stage and tell your 2 cents or tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, come on. All right, here's your chance. Just do it respectfully. You're welcome to say, well, our heart truth, I don't believe you have the wits of a gnat. Well, if you feel that way, okay, well, you can feel that way. But don't, just be polite with it. All right, how do we give memberships? LA, thank you so much. We got LA with a $4.99. I'm not sure. I think it's Super Sticker. See if I can find it to show it. I can. All right. Thank you so much, LA. To gift memberships, I've had to do it on Android or Windows Explorer. Right now, I'm on a Mac. And it won't show me, for some reason, it won't show me that option. But you can give memberships in the chat. I think you can click in the chat and there's a dollar sign or dollar bill sign down there. Y'all help me out. How do you give the memberships? I did it one time. And I'm not sure how to give the directions. Y'all help me out. All right. Thank you so much, LA. I think we got Les jumping on stage.
Oh.
What do you know? Ha ha! Our sidekick is on stage. Come on, Les. What you got to say?
Oh, well, no, I just jumped on chat like 5 minutes ago, and because I was like gonna see if you were alive, and then I saw you were still alive, and I said, "Oh, Miss Joy, I'm so glad to hear you."
You're gonna have to call me and tell me on Wednesday. I got a live, Les.
I know. My husband was like, "Well, can you call her?" And I said, "I don't have her number." I said, "I don't even know her name."
Okay, LA says it says super chat and super sticker. How do you do the gift membership in the chat? Somebody
I got
help me.
no idea.
Let me look on mine and see what it says. Let me look on my phone and see what kind of option it gives me. I don't see it either. I don't see it either. But that's all right. Once I get on are you on an Apple device, LA? That's probably what it is. Because whenever I'm on my Mac and my iPhone, I don't see the option either. But then when I'm on Android or when I'm in the when I'm on my Windows, I see the option. If you're on Apple product, that might be why.
That's true because I know that I can't become a member of any channel if I'm using my iPhone, but I
You
can't
see?
on the computer or Android. It's weird.
Right. And I think One Made Nut was trying to come on stage. If that's the case, come on.
Yeah, come on, One Made Nut.
He popped up and then he disappeared off
He
the
better come back.
bottom. All right. What do you say about some of these questions, Les?
Well, I don't know what y'all are talking about, really. I mean, I tried to go through them, and I know the last thing I heard you talking about was whether or not they could find a picture of him driving somewhere.
Right.
That's all I heard.
All right.
So
Well, you can start there.
what's the discussion about right now?
Right now, I gave 3 questions about
Okay.
Kopaka being the pseudo commando or charismatic leader like Charles Manson, and I put the questions that bother me about that theory. And the first one is, why would Kopaka snap an entire month after the Idaho 4 crime? Why wouldn't he have a psychotic break, like maybe a day or a week after the crime? That was the first question.
Mm-hmm. That's something I hadn't really thought about, actually. I do think that he has a lot to do with it, but I didn't think about the fact that it took him a month to snap. I mean, I think he was in deep with Ellie, and I don't know. I mean, he might have done something. And they just started pressuring him, but I definitely think he's involved in. And I mean, I'm unpopular opinion, but I do think he's involved in doing it. I
I
really
do
do.
too. I do
Yeah.
too. All right, hold on. I forgot to give LA a shout out in the other chat. I agree. I think that it's something. A lot jumped off in December. I mean, it ended with the arrest on the last day of the month. But I mean, a lot of stuff jumped off. They had confidence in December they didn't have in November. So I agree, because if they had the confidence, they would have arrested him earlier than what they did. So One Made Nut, you can try to get on the stage again. You got on there last week. You did it right last week.
Come on, we can get 8 people on here, right? 6 people.
Yeah, probably more than that.
What was the second question?
Oh, he said, I just like being up alone. He wants
well,
you
I'll
to get
get
off.
I will get off. Lord knows I come up here enough. So I'm gonna get back in chat. All righty.
Now, how you gonna kick her off and you ain't even up here? One Made Nut, you come on out.
Snap.
Well, the reason he barely got a chance to speak last week.
Well, hey, I'm gonna get off, and then if you need me to, I'll come in tomorrow night.
All right.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you, Les.
All right.
All right. We didn't clear the air. What's going on, One Made Nut? You need to clock in now. Come back up on the stage and ran Les off. Now, what are you gonna do? Now you just come on. We're waiting on you. All right, Carrie T. Maybe he found out what Ellie was involved and they killed him for it. He did not have a phone turned on during this, but to have it white, he had info on somebody. All right. There's One Made Nut. Let me put you back on. All right. Can you answer any of our questions today, sir?
Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can. And welcome. Thank you so much.
Hard truth, you don't have the wits of a gnat. I thought that was funny.
Well, see, you get to tell me that.
No, I'm just being silly.
Hey, That you get, but if that's your opinion, you get to say it.
Oh no, that's not my opinion.
All right, give us some wisdom.
Well, your question to me was, I think it was in the comment section on one of your other videos, you had asked, how come Brent Kopacka and Brian cannot be associated together, I think, or something to that effect. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So let me break it down like this. How can you get multiple people involved in murdering these 4 victims? How can you do that? What
All
is
right.
the motive?
Okay. This is where the study comes in.
Let's say that they are the ones. They're the culprits. So
Right.
But then what becomes the motive?
Okay, let's go back to the study because it spoke about motive for a charismatic leader with disciples. They answered it, and I'm going to see if you agree. Hold on just a second. Let me put it back up and see what the motive, what they said the motive is, because they did say. And I like this study. Okay. It says, this is the motive. If you have a leader and disciples, it says that the disciples' acceptance is paramount. He feels he deserves psychological approbation only if he cares. So they're saying the disciples are just doing it because the leader said do it. So I think what you're asking is, what's the leader's motive? All right.
Well, I'm not on board with whatever it is that you have up on your screen.
Okay, what don't you like?
This is getting confusing. Let me say, I do think that multiple people did this. Okay?
Right.
But I do not think Brian Kohlberger can be one of them.
All right.
Now,
why?
if it is multiple people, the question becomes, why did those 4 students have to die? There was a reason they were targeted, but
Right.
not because of some ritualistic. Is this kind of what it on your screen, what that alludes to, like ritualistic type of sacrifice, or is that kind of the gist of it? Do I understand that correctly?
No. Okay. First it says what the motive is not. It says money, revenge, and sexual are not motives. They say those are not motives. And one of them is right, because we don't have any reports of any sexual, activity during the crime. So that part, it says those are not motivating factors, nor is anticipated gain. And so I'm trying to see, okay, here's something that might help. It says, with the disciple, unlike others, there does not appear to be a general dislike of the world around them. Neither is the person placed in a situation in which the only way to remove himself from the situation is to kill. They're doing it because of the effect the leader has upon him. Now, let me ask you this about your question. What was Charles Manson's motivation for telling those kids to go over there and do that on CeeLo Drive? He said his motive was, I think, something about getting somebody out of jail. It didn't make any sense. But that's the same thing as this one here. What was Andre Longmore's motive for his quadruple murder on July the 15th? You know what his motive was? Mental illness. And that's something Kopacka did have. Mental illness was the motive for Andre Longmore.
Okay. Could Brent Kopacka have been involved? Yes, he could have. Could Brent and Brian have been involved together? And that answer to me would be no. Absolutely not. And the reason, well, they cannot have been together doing that as it's outlined in the PCA.
Why?
That would automatically mean that either Dylan or Bethany or both are involved, which then means that law enforcement is complicit because they would know that. No matter what, Ellie knows what happened. No matter what. If
Now, I agree
multiple
with-
people,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
they
go ahead,
know.
go ahead.
Well,
Yeah, I
so
believe
if
they
multiple-
know. I believe they know. They had to know to be feeling like they have to cover it up. They had to know to even feel like they need to come up with somebody like that. I agree with that.
Here's why Brent and Brian cannot be the ones. If multiple people are involved and you end up with only one of the actual killers on the hook, then that won't work because that one person will spill it all out and that will lead to the bigger fish. So the person you're framing for this must be completely disassociated with it all in order for the protected ones to remain undetected, excuse me.
Now, can we depend on the fact? Is it a fact that BK won't snitch? That he's the type that just won't snitch? You got some people that don't believe in snitching. I'm one of them.
No. People will spill it all when they're, put in a position. Even spouses will turn each other in when it comes to this.
Not everybody, though. Not everybody. I can
Well,
name some cases right now.
Well,
I know.
do you think he has a code like that though, Brian
Yes.
Colbert? You think he
I'm
fits
saying he
that
could.
type?
He could. Yes, he could. Because he's been on the street. If he used heroin, then yeah, he could have street code. If he was a heroin user, yeah,
But
he could
has
have
he used
street
heroin?
code. Huh?
But has he used heroin?
I mean, he has used heroin. His family admit that. He has used heroin. If
His family hasn't spoken.
No, I'm not talking about since he was arrested. They said he had a drug problem, and so did his friends at school. I don't think he's denying that.
Well, that's hearsay. His friends saying that means nothing. That doesn't.
Okay, but what about I can look at Brian Kohlberger's pictures in the past and see a difference. I'm just saying.
It's possible, but he's got a lot of focus and drive, and those two things don't go together. Drug use, and someone who has their life put together. Those are not two traits that are common with one another.
Maybe that's why he's in jail. How else did he get associated with this? I'm not saying he did it, but I'm saying maybe drug use is the only reason why he's linked to this, even if he didn't do it, especially if he didn't do it. The only thing that I believe would link him to this is drug use.
No. So earlier you had said, if you were innocent of this, you would be getting out of jail. You're not going to sit in jail for something you didn't do.
That's kind of what I said. That's not all that I said. I said that if you're innocent of a crime and they come and they get you, you're not going to want to be in jail. Nobody wants to be in jail.
Right.
And so for somebody not to snitch, it's not common. I agree with you. I'm not going to say that everybody tells because they don't. Boosie was on death row and he didn't snitch. So I don't agree with that. It's a street code not to snitch. So somebody that has any exposure to being on the street would have that code, maybe. But I'm just saying, if you're in jail for something you didn't do, you're not gonna want to sit there for 6 months, a year, 4 years, 5 years. Now that they waive speedy trial, Brian could be in jail for 5 years before he go to trial. That's a long time. Just before he can even give his side of the story. That's a long time for something you didn't do.
Well,
And so
if
not-
this goes to trial, we don't even know, if it goes to trial.
that's true.
This might
That's
get
true.
dismissed.
That's true. That's true now. That's true. But at this point right here, if they don't get it thrown out, if Ann Taylor can't get it thrown out, and I'm not saying she can't, okay, she's trying to get that indictment squashed, but at the same time, we getting delay after delay, and that's exactly what they do. Once you waive speedy trial, they're gonna keep delaying it. They're not gonna be in a rush. They're gonna drag Bryan Kohberger. They're gonna drag him. Now that he waived speedy trial, he's gonna be in there for a while just because. And that doesn't mean he's guilty or innocent. That's how they do everybody. I know a case in Idaho right now where the man was in there for 5 years before he actually went to trial. I'm not making it up. And all I'm saying is he could know something about it. I don't believe any one person went in that house between 4 and 4:20 and did all that. I don't believe any one person did that. I don't believe Bryan has the physical prowess to go in a house and do that. I don't care what his past is. I just don't see him being able to do it. I just don't. But as far as him knowing about it or helping plan it, I don't have enough evidence to rule that out.
Well, yeah, none of us do. I think there's a benefit in framing someone who is completely disassociated with the crime. Because if there is a connection, then that connection can be the undoing of it all.
Right? And I think that,
Like,
I
for
really
example,
I believe Bryan is the type that wouldn't snitch. I just feel that if he knows something about the case, I don't believe he is the type to snitch. I don't see that. I don't think so.
this case has kind of all the signs, the hallmarks of there's another case involved. This secrecy is kind of alluding to the possibility that maybe this does involve something that's bigger than this case.
Right.
And that is his connection. And
All
I
right.
haven't dismissed that possibility. He might know something, but we can't know what he knows. And that's why everything is kept from us. The non-dissemination order, the gag order. So,
Right.
His involvement, we can almost just assume that he didn't do this crime. But, the benefit of taking someone down SWAT style versus, an investigator finding this sheath. And let's face it, that is like too good to be true. If you're a detective and you find that sheath and there ends up being DNA on it and you test the DNA and it brings you to a suspect, then what you would do is bring that suspect in for questioning and see what how did his DNA come to be in that crime scene? Because the prosecutor knows he's not going to be able to go to court and win at trial with touch DNA. So
Right.
the prosecutor is going to tell his investigators, look, get me a confession, get me something I can work with. This is not guesswork.
Right.
So the benefit of taking him down SWAT style, though, like they did, is to deny him the ability to be questioned. And during that questioning, he would be able to assert his innocence. But when they took him down like that, what they did is they're saying, look, I don't care if you think that you're innocent and that you didn't do this. I'm not concerned with that. We're telling you that you are guilty of this. We have your DNA on this knife sheath, and we have other circumstantial evidence on you. So you're going in and you're being indicted. And that is why they did it in that manner.
All
Because-
right, let me ask you this. What do you think about Brian Koberger's alibi that he was riding around?
He was absolutely out with his car that night. Was he driving for, those 6 or 8 hours straight? No. What was he doing?
Right.
We don't know. But I can guarantee that he wasn't at 404 or 420 on King Road. And that is
Right.
because if you look at the language in the PCA, they will never talk about that car being an Elantra during that time. They refer to that car as suspect vehicle 1. Now, if you look at the contrast, when he is in near Kate's Cup of Joe and Albertson's grocery store the following day, they go ahead and identify the car and call it by Brian Koberger's Elantra.
Okay, because
That
did you read
that tells
did
you right there that what they're trying to do is suggest that it's his car at 404 and 420 without pinning themselves into perjury. They're giving
Right.
themselves wiggle room and a way out
Right.
through the language.
But didn't it accomplish the opposite? Because they locked themselves in to the time of the crime being between 4 and 420. There's no way out of that because they are telling us DM is saying she woke up at 4 o'clock and boom, this is when everything jumped off. So they're locked into that 4 to 420. And I mean, I think that's going to be the undoing, if anything else, because there's so many things that point to the crime happening well before then. And so I think the 4 to 420 is going to be a big problem for the prosecution. What do you think about that?
That is their undoing because they are tied into that tight window. And that in itself proves that he didn't do it because one person cannot do this crime. Now, there will be others that argue that, of course, I understand. And I accept that, but mark my words, that crime cannot happen with the way it's outlined in the PCA with just one person.
All right.
Matter of fact, take it a step
agree with
further.
that.
There was no one, except for maybe the 2 surviving witnesses, there was no one alive at that time, regardless, in that
All
house.
right. All right. Do you believe them and BF were in the house like they say?
That I don't know, because if you listen to Captain Lanier, I think it was on the 20th, during the press conference, he says that the 2 surviving witnesses were in the house at 1 a.m. and then they woke up later that morning. So that tells me that they were in the house at 1 a.m. But the entire amount of time between the following morning when it was daylight and 1 a.m. is a long time where we don't know where they're at. It's hard. I know one thing. No one slept in that house that night.
I agree. I don't believe that those girls were there for the simple fact it's against human nature for human beings to be in a house with corpses. That goes that long. That goes against human nature.
It does.
It just does. And so I don't believe they were there. I don't believe that those girls at their age could have recovered mentally and emotionally from that enough to be out at a tattoo shop a week or 2 later. I just don't see it. I think that they're being set up as witnesses because the prosecution needs witnesses. They need witnesses because that DNA is not going anywhere as far as the trial. unless Ann Taylor brings it in and forces them to answer to it, the prosecution is not using that as evidence. They probably can't use it because there's so many problems with how they claim they got it. They're moving the sheaf around, saying it was next to Maddie, then they say it was under Maddie and all that. But at the same time, maybe there was a sheaf there because we listen to Charles Manson. He said he told his group to leave something there and let the world know they were there when they went in that house and took all those lives. He said that. So, I mean, maybe there was a sheaf, but I don't believe that Brian Kohlberger or anybody else would drive their own car to a crime scene. Andre Lawnmower took 4 lives in July. He had a stolen vehicle. He was in a stolen vehicle and he had mental health issues, but he still had sense enough to use a stolen vehicle. So even I don't believe that Brian Kohlberger would be in his own car with the intent to kill. I just don't believe that.
Well, you're right. Now, as far as the 2 roommates being witnesses, I think the purpose for including DM's statement in the PCA has more to do with ensuring she is not considered a witness. You know, a witness to the purpose of identifying Brian Kohlberger, that is, as the suspect. She's mentioned in the PCA as a witness to the timeline, more so, to ensure that the timeline that they've put forth, has substance. And also, it's just like the DoorDash. The DoorDash being put in there has no purpose. That doesn't even belong in the PCA, but they're including the DoorDash just for manipulation of the timeline, as it suggests proof of life. Someone being awake.
I agree 100%.
But
I believe it's just
a loose connection. It doesn't prove life.
Well, it's proven that Xana, and it proves that everybody in the house was alive at 4 o'clock. Because if you think about Dim's statement, she's quick to say she heard somebody playing with the dog.
Well,
So
it doesn't prove, though. It doesn't prove
I'm saying
that.
I'm saying it suggests. It doesn't necessarily prove, especially if it's a lie. But what I'm saying is, it's saying she was awake playing with the dog, so Maddie had to be alive because she wouldn't be up there playing with her dog if Maddie wasn't alive. So that was the purpose of that. And then for Xana to be on her phone and getting food, and she's in the room with Ethan, both of them had to be alive. So I agree with you saying it's just the purpose of it is to suggest or prove that everybody was alive at 4 o'clock, which I don't believe that they were alive at 4 o'clock. I really don't.
I don't either. I think it happened probably an hour, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours, possibly before that.
Let me ask you this. If the crimes happen between 3 and 4 instead of 4 and 4:30, if they happen between 3 and 4, what does that mean for Brian Kohlberger? Because he's supposed to be off the radar as far as his phone between about 2:50 and 5 o'clock. So between 3 and 4, he's still off the radar. What do you say about that?
Well, if the time of death is proven, if the time of the crime is proven to be not at, between 4:04 and 4:20, if it was earlier, that automatically means that Brian Kohlberger has nothing to do with this crime, because again, they've constrained themselves to that tight window. They're saying that that's his car right there at 4:04 and 4:20.
Okay. All right. So between 3
regardless
and 4,
of where he was,
right? I've heard people say that. I don't think it completely exonerates him. I think it just makes the PCA even more fake than it sounds when I first read it. I think it makes a greater chance that Brian Kohlberger is innocent because they're saying he did this between 4 and 20. 4 and 4:20. And so if it didn't happen between 4 and 4:20, my first thought is that it had to happen before then. And so my only problem with saying Brian couldn't have done it is that I still don't know where Brian Kohlberger was between 3 and 4. That's the only problem I have.
That's not ours to know. We don't have to prove that. He doesn't have to prove that.
Okay. Now, when people say what Brian Kohlberger doesn't have to prove, I have to remind you that he's been arrested and we've already seen a large degree of corruption on the part of MPD. We've already seen that. So what I'm saying is he's not supposed to have to prove that. But in this case right here, he's going to have to prove that because he shouldn't have to prove it, but he is in custody. Whether he did it or not, he's in custody. He's not only been charged, he's been indicted, and they're piling on rumors and stories. They're not letting up on him as the suspect. So maybe he shouldn't have to prove it. But in this case right here, I think the jurors are going to want to hear that. According to the law, he doesn't have to prove that. The burden of proof is on the state. Yes, it is. I don't argue that point. But what I'm saying is, if that's the case, like you said, they were supposed to interrogate him before they arrested him. And according to his lawyer, he was interrogated for 15 minutes after they snatched him out of his parents' house. So they're not going by the book. According to the book, he's not supposed to have to prove where he was. They're not going by the book.
Yeah, if it does go to trial, of course, it would be in his best interest to, if he can prove where he was at that time, then of course they'd do that. But again, is it even going to trial? We're getting ahead of ourselves. We don't know. It may not.
We're assuming because after they waived the speedy trial, I question whether it's ever going to go to trial. I question that with you for several reasons. But there's a possibility it will if the defense can come up with a little bit more firepower and energy than what they're putting out right now. Because right now, all we get is filings and delays.
Well,
but the prosecution is not playing fair.
I'll leave you with this. So as far as if it goes to trial, as we know, Ann Taylor is, she's filed a motion to dismiss based on prosecutorial misconduct because of omitting exculpatory evidence, lack of sufficient evidence, and a couple other reasons, I forget all which. But so let's just talk briefly and assume that it gets dismissed.
All right.
Is that a victory for the defense? And I would say no. That is really not ideal. That's ideal for the prosecution. And I think the prosecution is trying for that, because if you can imagine that the prosecution is bringing these charges to a person who they know is innocent and is being framed, and they have insufficient evidence, that's
Right.
treachery. You would not want to go to trial like that. So because of the trial by media and how he has already been convicted guilty by the masses, that is what they were going for. When this gets dismissed, it's a favor for the prosecution because he doesn't have to expose himself. Bill Thompson doesn't have to be exposed by framing this guy, because he'll have nothing in the courtroom to bring against Brian Kohlberger. And that would be evident as soon as the trial begins. So when and if it gets dismissed, Brian Kohlberger will always be guilty because the room will still be divided.
Right. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I agree with that. It'll be just like OJ, even though he got exonerated, people just say he did it and they didn't look for anybody else after him. And so he was just left with that stigma until he got himself arrested again. So I understand perfectly what you're saying, and I understand that. But at the same time, if Brian Kohlberger didn't do it, he needs to be back home with his family. He's already been cut off from university. He's already been, ostracized by the public. And it's nothing like your freedom, because he can write a book. He can get money. He's getting money right now. He can get money and he doesn't need a job anymore. He's so infamous from this case. He can make enough money to live off of just by writing one book or doing one good interview with Oprah, and he'll have enough money to start him a business and put some money in the bank for his family. He's already at that point, because a smart move by him, he's not talking. He's not making any statements to the public. And that's smart, because it's building up the value, because people would pay cash money right now to just hear what this dude has to say for himself out of his own mouth, not what his attorney is saying for him, not what other people are saying he said, for him to speak. And so I just believe that it's better for him, for anybody to have their freedom. If he didn't do it, I don't feel like I would want to see him out of jail. Just if that was my son, I would want my son out of that jail. If he didn't do it, I would be horrified at the whole process.
Yeah, Hartruth, in a normal case, that would be ideal. Are you familiar with Jennifer Thompson and Ronald Cotton?
Right.
So she identified, the person who sexually assaulted her, right?
Right.
And she even saw his face in the light. But he somehow during questioning got nervous and his alibi didn't work out. So he was imprisoned, and this was in Burlington, North Carolina, I think in like 1984. So the funniest thing happened in prison is he was doing his time, and then another inmate come along and was convicted of something. His name was Bobby Poole, and he looked identical to Ronald Cotton.
Right.
Well, long story short, is you can see where this is going.
Right.
Is Bobby Poole was the one who did that. But where I'm going with this is, in a normal case like that, it would be ideal to get it dismissed and then just walk. But this is not a normal case, because unfortunately, Bryan Kohberger needs to prove his innocence, because he's guilty. And you said moments ago that if this gets dismissed, and once this gets dismissed, then how does that look for Bryan Kohberger? Number one, it doesn't come with, Bill Thompson proclaiming that he's innocent. A mark of innocence doesn't go along with a dismissal. Bill Thompson will just continue saying, it got dismissed, it was beyond my control, but that's still your guy. So and you said it a couple of moments ago, you said they'll never look for the real perpetrators as a result of a dismissal.
No, they won't. Now,
that is the point of all this.
Okay, well, I believe in God. Okay, if for those that don't know, I haven't figured it out. I believe in God, and I believe in the Bible, and I believe the truth comes out, and I believe that whatever you put out there, you it's coming back to you. I believe if Bryan Kohberger didn't do this, and this case gets dismissed, the truth will come out one kind of way or another. Something will happen good for him, because I don't believe the Lord would allow him to go through all of this for no reason and just let him walk around ostracized. Okay, when Joseph was put in prison and he was innocent, the Lord had a plan for him. He planned to elevate him, but he had to go through an humbling process first. I don't believe the good Lord would let Bryan Kohberger just be victimized like this if he's innocent, and then once he's out of jail, just let him walk around as a social reject. Because when OJ was exonerated, he ended up writing a book, If I Did It, pretty much telling, slapping everybody in the face that thought he didn't do it, and just, it still came out. But in the case where if the person is exonerated and they didn't do it, I don't believe the Lord will let Brian Kohlberger just walk around as a nomad, possibly even having to move to another country because everybody believe he unalived Idaho 4 and he got off, and then somebody just pick him off. I just don't believe that. I believe that if Brian is innocent, that I have to believe that if he's innocent and the Lord allow him to go through all of this, it's for a reason. And all the Bible say all things work to the good to those called according to his purpose. And so if he got a purpose for Brian going through all of this, then he'll be elevated in some type of way afterwards, even if the prosecution never come out and say we had the wrong person. Now that's just what I believe.
Well, as far as whether he has a connection to this or if they just picked his name randomly and fit a narrative around him, I don't know which it is. But I do know this: he's not involved with the actual crime itself directly.
Right. I don't believe he was dumb enough, even if he knew about it, and even if he by some wild chance was involved in the planning. I just don't believe Brian Kohlberger was ever in that house. Now I could be wrong. Okay. It's not written in stone. I'm open to any new information that can be proven. But as it stands now, I feel like if he had been in that house, they would have evidence of him being in Moscow on camera somewhere, not just a car, his car, not just, being able to see him in his car. He didn't have a tent, okay? I just believe somehow we will have some evidence of him somebody would know him, somebody would remember his face on that street. I just don't believe that the evidence shows that he was ever in that house. That doesn't mean he wasn't. That just means I don't see the evidence so far. I just don't. Because it's just hard to be somewhere and not leave evidence. I'm not talking about planted evidence. Anybody could put DNA on a snap. I believe if that was his sheep and he handled it, his DNA would be all over it. If he forgot to wipe off the snap, he forgot to wipe off the whole thing. I just don't believe it. But as far as just totally letting him off the hook, as far as him knowing nothing about it or knowing nothing about the people who actually did it, to me, that's a whole different story. I have to keep those separate until I have evidence to just completely wipe his name off the list for the simple fact that he's the suspect. But I don't believe he was in that house ever. I believe he had sense enough, even if he knew about it or whatever, not to go in that house. Even if he knew about it, I don't see him going in the house for any reason. I don't. And I think the fact that they had other people's DNA in there solidifies the fact that it was more than one person that did it.
Well, this wasn't as much about Brian getting convicted as it was having him get indicted.
Right. Well,
that's their victory. That's where they intended it for it to go, because it cannot go any further than that. They cannot get a conviction here. They didn't intend to.
Well, that's possibility.
That's
we have talked about that. That's still on the table as a possibility as far as I'm concerned. But I want to take a minute and answer this question, and then maybe you can answer it too. It's by Miss Mick Winborn. Says, please define what you mean by snitching. If I have a relative that has harmed someone, I'm calling the police. Okay. My definition of snitching as far as street code is knowing about a crime and telling people that you know about the crime. Now, basically, that's like knowing somebody that's not your relative. Maybe a street gang did it. Maybe like they saying the frats don't want to tell on each other. I'm saying snitching as far as somebody that you don't know personally did it. Now, if somebody in your family did something, that's totally different. I'm talking about knowing about a crime that you didn't have anything to do with, and you don't even know those people. You know who did it, but you don't know them personally. You don't have anything to do with it. I mean, it's just street code to just stay out of it and let the police do their investigation. I personally feel like I don't want to be involved with telling on nobody. That's not my job. That's not for me to do. If I know something about a crime, especially if a street gang or organized crime or somebody else did it, and maybe I know about one person out the group or whatever, I'm gonna mind my own business. And that might sound harsh. I might be wrong for that, but I just don't feel like that's my job to go and tell on somebody. Now, if somebody in my household did something, I would tell them, you need to go turn yourself in. Okay? And if I was there and the police asked me if I was there, I'm not going to lie. Especially if it's somebody, a relative of mine. But as far as knowing about a crime and pretty much everybody know who did it, and the police come to me, they're going to have to go to somebody else to find out, because RIP to the victims, I just don't want to be involved in that. I just don't. It's
So
better
I
for
got
me
in here.
my life.
I got in here a little late. I didn't catch. So what is your theory on Branko Packet? You thought he was taken down because of what reason?
I believe after listening to the 911 tape, which I put on one of my videos for this series, after listening to that tape and realizing that he was pacing outside the apartment, he wasn't just barricaded inside. He was outside on the banister walking around. Then he went back in the apartment, and the policeman said the dispatcher said one of the guys got out. If you listen to it, and the other roommate was still in there, and then some kind of way he got out. So Branko Packet was out of control when the police got there. But as far as fatally shooting him, in my opinion, I think they should have done all they could to preserve life, to maybe stun him or whatever. But as far as somebody calling on the phone and setting him up to be swatted, I no longer believe that's what happened. Because the policeman on the 911 was trying to find an apartment. He said, I can't tell which window belongs to him. You can hear it on the 911. So if somebody called and said, this guy is out of control, and they come and they shoot him, but he wasn't out of control, to me, that's swatting somebody. But if somebody's outside with a gun and they ranting and stuff and threatening people, that's not somebody setting him up. He was having a psychotic break. But as far as going, and they were there for a long time, I just thought that the SWAT team had stuff they could shoot at somebody that would stun them or sedate them. Or I just don't understand why he had to be unalive.
So your theory is he was having some type of a psychotic episode, a breakdown.
Right.
They're not swatting him to silence him because he did this crime. That's not your theory?
No, that's not what I said. I believe that listening to the 911 call, he was having a psychotic break. Now, as far as them shooting him to the point it was a fatality, instead of trying to subdue him or sedate him, they could have been trying to silence him. Okay? But the original reason why they were there was because he was having a psychotic break. That's my opinion from listening to the 911 call. Now, what he knew and why they actually took his life instead of just trying to subdue him, that's something separate. But when the police arrived, the man first of all, why does somebody with PTSD have a gun in the first place? Are you allowed to have a gun if you diagnosed with PTSD? And
a lot of people, a lot of VA, prior soldiers that file for disability, they file for PTSD disability, and they still have firearms.
Right. He shouldn't have had a gun. Andre Longmore had he had an ARF rifle.
Who's to say that? You? Or
I don't feel like somebody with PTSD that has had at least one manic episode should have a gun?
But has he had a manic episode?
I don't know. That's another question that I'm looking up. I want to know, is this the first time he had a psychotic break? Because maybe somebody gave him some bad dope or something. I don't know.
That's also assuming a bit much. We don't know if this was a psychotic breakdown.
Well, if somebody is outside their apartment with a gun threatening people, to me, there's something wrong with that. I mean, the police were supposed to intervene.
So they say. I mean, we didn't.
Well, no, on a 911 call, you can hear where the policeman said, where they're telling you what's going on. It's not speculation that he had a gun.
Well, I'm not saying it's speculation, but you don't know the context of it. You don't know if he's out there saying, like, what, guys? What's going on? I mean, I'm here. My hands are up. What?
Okay. Well, from what I can see,
I'm not
think
a problem here.
Well, he barricaded himself in the apartment and he shot at the police.
I don't know. I guess.
No, I think somebody had a picture of the window shattered. He shot at the police, and that's pretty much suicide when you shoot at the police.
Well, they have a picture of the window shattered. That could be the bullet coming in. I mean, they don't have a video of him firing a weapon, so that's also making an assumption that he's the one that broke the window, firing at the police.
Okay, my point is, from what I listened to on the 911 call, all right, and looking at the shrine he had in his apartment, the fact that he had a gun and a machete of some type, a decorated machete, he had some affection for his weapons. And anybody, if I had a 20-year-old in an apartment with a roommate and they had a gun and they were pacing around with it, threatening, I would want the police to come. If my child was in there, I would want the police to come. Now, as far as killing him, that's something totally different. But the police needed to come from what Brent Kopaka was doing.
When the police came, they didn't know who he was. Are you saying that they knew that this was the Idaho 4 suspect?
No, I'm saying they knew it was a veteran. They knew it was Brent Kopaka because it started 8:34 p.m. and he
they knew it was Brent Kopaka. Yeah, I give you that.
They knew who it was.
Well, they knew that. Yeah.
And by between 8:34 p.m. and 3:58 in the morning, they had plenty enough time to get the backdrop on him, who he was, and whether he had.
Of course, that's how that works. Yes.
They had plenty of time. They knew exactly who they were dealing with by the time he was shot. So,
well, they don't know exactly. I mean, they know, the main questions, the general questions, who, but they don't know exactly who they're dealing with. I mean, nobody even knows.
Anytime somebody has a weapon, especially a gun, because it would have been the same thing if he had a knife threatening people. If you have a weapon and you are not complying with police, you don't even have to have a weapon. Look at George Floyd. You don't even have to have a weapon to be.
We don't even know if he was with a weapon or threatening people.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying we're all speculating. First of all, I'm not the only one speculating. I can only give my opinion, which is what you asked me for, right? And in my opinion, Brent Kopaka drew the police to his apartment with his behavior. I don't believe somebody called and set him up to be in the position he was in. The only way I believe that happened is if somebody gave him some bad drugs and had him acting up like that. That's the only way that I believe he was set up by somebody else. And that's not impossible. But assuming that nobody gave him something to where he would be acting up like that, and he was doing that because his own mental issues, they had a responsibility to come and stop him from pacing around with a gun. And then once he barricaded himself in his apartment, okay, I don't know what the law is. Are you allowed to be in your apartment with a weapon? Yes. I mean, if you ain't bothering nobody, if the two roommates was gone or whatever. But if he threatened somebody and if he shot at the police, he put himself in a position to where things ended up like they did. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. And I'm just assuming based on the 911 call that he was pacing with a gun and that there were 2 young people there that were at risk. And once they were removed, I wasn't there. It's up in the air. I know they spent a lot of time at that apartment. That's a long time, from 8:34 p.m. to 3:58 a.m. That's a long time to be trying to get somebody to, throw the gun out. Maybe they thinking he was going to harm himself. And they wanted him to, just give up, slide the gun out, man. Let us talk to you or whatever. I don't know. They're keeping it all so secret. But if he was on the banister with a gun, barricaded in, and if he shot at the police, this is what happens when you shoot at the police. That's why Andre Longmore is dead. When they caught up with him the next day, he shot a policeman. He didn't just shoot at him, he shot him. He was a veteran with mental health issues. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. This is not an isolated case.
Well, when it comes to who did this, I don't know. I'm more all about who didn't do it. And that I can speak about. When it comes to who did this, I'll never be able to figure it out. And I'm happy with just letting the mystery be. Maybe someday it'll get solved.
What? You at peace with letting it be?
Well, sometimes there's questions that you just better off not asking too. And I think that this is one of those circumstances. But let me ask you a real quick question about the sheath. Do you think it was planted there by law enforcement?
I think the DNA was planted. I think there's a possibility that after listening to Charles Manson, I believe there's a possibility that a sheath was left there. But I believe that if the police planted something, it was the DNA. I'm not going to go so far as to say they planted the sheath, but I do believe they planted the DNA.
When did the sheath, in your assessment, the way you have it figured, when did the sheath get into the crime scene?
Okay, I believe that the sheath could have gotten there by whoever did it, left it. I believe that the police could have put it there, one or the other. I mean, the victims didn't put it there. So I believe either the police put it there or the people that did it. And at this point, at first, I believe the police planted it after reading the documents. But like I said, after listening to Charles Manson, I believe it's a possibility that the people that did it did leave a sheath. But I don't believe they left it with anything on it. I believe that's when the planting comes in, the actual DNA itself. I believe maybe they did find a sheath, but there was nothing on it. Because Howard Bloom said when they sent the sheath to Idaho the first time, there was nothing on it. So if there was something there with nothing on it, somebody that did it could have left it. But I don't believe they left it with DNA on it. No, I don't believe that. I'm not going to believe that.
That's very interesting. Do you think that the sheath would be on that 3D imagery? The laser, the 3D laser capturing the crime scene in that bedroom. Do you think the sheath, because it says that the sheath was placed button side down and partially under Mogen and the comforter. So I wonder what partially under Mogen and the comforter, would that be identifiable before you move the bodies and before you move the comforter and the other bedding materials? Do you think that it's viewable by like photographs or a body cam or this 3D imagery?
That's a great question. And it's an easy question. First of all, they moved the location of the sheath because originally the PCA said it was on Maddie Mogen's left side, viewable from the door. And so now they're saying it was up under Maddie with the snap turned down. So they moved the sheath. And so I believe the only reason they would do that is because they don't have a picture of the sheath on body cam. And so for it to be under Maddie, they wouldn't have to have a picture of it because it's not viewable. When they said it was on the left side, then common sense, one of those policemen with a body cam will have it on body cam when they entered the room. I don't believe they have that. So now all of a sudden it's under Maddie, because the original statement was that it was on her left side. And they said that Officer Nunez, when he entered Kaylee's room, Murphy was in there, and that is on body cam. That's in the PCA. So if Nunez had his body cam on to see Murphy, record Murphy in Kaylee's room when he opened the door, then he should have had his body cam on when he entered Maddie's room, and he should have been able to have that sheet on his same body cam next to Maddie on her left side. And so if they don't have that, of course they will move it and say it's under Maddie. That's my opinion.
Well, I'll leave you with that, but just so you don't misunderstand me, I'm not okay with not ever discovering who really did this. Of course, we want to know, but in this case, I don't think we're ever going to get there.
No, I think we're gonna get there. You know why? Because of fate. All right, every action has an equal and an opposite reaction, and whatever
Well, let me
for
be
somebody
more
else to
specific.
fall in it.
Maybe I should say within our lifetimes, within our generation.
Yeah, we'll know. Yeah, because I mean, we'll know. It's not that big. It's not a big bad case, unsolvable case. There's no such thing as that. I mean, I believe that the truth always comes out. Sometimes it doesn't come out within one generation, but most of the time it does. And there are so many things that don't add up here that's not gonna hold up. It don't matter. It doesn't matter.
Maybe your mind and my mind are on a different wavelength about that right now, because let me ask you, who then planted the DNA on the sheath?
It had to be law enforcement.
You can refer to that agency with 3 letters, right?
I would say it had to be law enforcement, some type of law enforcement, for the simple fact that once they taped off their house, nobody was allowed to come into that property but law enforcement. So any shenanigans that took place after 12 p.m. when the police were called and they taped it up had to be done by a law enforcement agency or employee, because civilians weren't allowed to come back in the house.
FBI?
You can't go. Once they tape off a crime scene, who can go in there? Nobody.
So the FBI is the agency?
So anybody, law enforcement, anybody. It could be Idaho State personnel. Anybody that had permission to go in that house after after it was taped off. Anybody that was allowed to do that. Anybody. But they had to have permission to go in the crime scene.
My point being is this: if this is FBI, then you will never know.
No, that's not true. The FBI is not above God. If the Lord wanted it exposed, it's gonna come out. I don't care if it's the president of the United States that did it. If he did it on it and sneaking around in secret, everything in the dark come to the light sooner or later. Okay, the earth is rotating around. It's nighttime. You can't stop the sun from shining in the morning. You can close your windows all you want to, but in the morning, it's going to be daylight. So it doesn't matter. As time passes, everything comes under light. So it's just a matter of time, but it will come out. It will come out. That's why people say it's no perfect crime, because something that we can't even control will happen. Some fluke will happen that will lead to somebody being discovered. It happens all the time. Stuff we didn't even have control over. People call it karma. People call it God. Some people call it life. But things will happen to where that thing will become exposed, or that person. It doesn't have to be law enforcement. It doesn't have to be YouTube influencers. It'll come out.
If this is a frame job, then there's also another term that goes along with that. That's cover up, right? They're covering something up.
You can't cover up the sun, one made nut.
Well,
You can block it out.
You took it a different. You misunderstand maybe what I'm asking is, if Brian Kohlberger is being framed, that means that they're covering something up.
Trying
They
to cover
know,
it up.
they know what happened, and they're trying to make him the scapegoat, the patsy.
That might be true, but that doesn't mean that they'll succeed. If that's the case, then a person believes that bad can overcome good. You believe bad can overcome good?
Well, I'm not going to get into the spiritual aspect of the discussion. I didn't want to take it there, but what I'm saying is this is a cover-up. In other words, because someone is being framed, that automatically means that they know the truth of what happened,
Right?
and they're trying to disguise that.
I agree. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be able to go on in it. I agree 100%. And the reason for a cover up is you know something. You have to know something to even have a reason to cover it up. I agree with that. All I'm saying is the cover up is not going to last. It's not going to succeed. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I have faith in that way too. And I agree with you there, but that's not where I meant the conversation to go for our sake of discussion.
Well, I'm sorry, you're on KJV. I can't leave that out. Sometimes I have to bring it.
No, I get it.
I have to remind people that God is not dead. He's still alive. And he's the ultimate judge. And sometimes when people do get away with stuff on an earthly level, they still end up getting caught because of divine intervention. And I can give you so many examples right here now, even with this case. I'm going to tell you what I believe is divine intervention in Brian Kohlberger's case. I believe his dad riding with him from Washington to Pennsylvania was divine intervention. Because I believe if Brian's father wasn't in the car, God only knows what happened right then and there. They could have planted stuff in his car. They could have arrested him and took his DNA right then. I believe that was the intent. I believe Brian Kohlberger's father being in the car was a shocker for them. I really do. And I believe that was divine intervention. Because if he would have flew home or he would have drove by himself, I don't believe that it would have went the way that it did.
He's like a witness keeping Brian safe, in effect, kind of like an insurance policy.
Right. Oh, keeping them from doing dirt because there's only so much they could have done to him with his daddy there. When people do dirt, they don't want witnesses. They want to do it in the dark. You don't want to try to frame some guy and his dad is there. You don't want to try to leave something. You don't want to try to arrest him for some traffic violation, impound his car and take his DNA and his dad is with him. That wasn't part of the plan. That's what I'm saying.
Well, lastly, I'll just say, just keep in mind, if this does go to trial, which I don't think it will, Ann's job is to make sure that Brian is innocent, found innocent, if he's indeed innocent. Her job is not to go solving crimes and try to figure out who did this.
Right. I agree with that. She got her hands full with just the job that you just described. Her job. Okay, LA, I see your post about to go, got a charge. Okay, I see it. I agree with that. And I agree that her job is to get him off. And it's way too much, too big of a job for her to go any further than that. All right. But I agree with that. I agree that there's a cover up going on. I agree with that 100%. And I agree that it's not in Taylor's job to find out who did it. I agree with that.
So let's just say, for the sake of this discussion, so if he does get found innocent, not guilty, what do they do? Do they pick it up from there and say, well, we got to discover who was really in that white car? Who belongs to that white car that we did see at 404 and 420?
No. There's no reason to do that because the kids are back at school. They got a suspect so they can tell the public.
No, I'm saying if it goes to trial and he's found not guilty, let's just say.
Right. It'll be just like OJ.
It's a cold case.
It'll be just like OJ. They'll just assume, everybody just assume that Brian did it, even though they said he was innocent, just like they did OJ.
Yes.
And the prosecution will be through with this, and the university is still receiving students. Like right now,
It'll be a
because they
cold
have
case.
Brian in custody, a lot of students were willing to come back to the University of Idaho. But if they had said they didn't have anybody in custody and they still looking for the culprit for a quadruple murder, would you send your kids back to school? Mm-mm. But they had a suspect in custody and they said it was targeted and there's no more danger to the community. And Brian is still in custody. So in August, kids still came back to the university. And I think that was the first concern, money. Keeping that enrollment up, keeping university rolling and on the tracks, because WSU is right down the street. A lot of them could have just went to WSU if it's gonna be like that. But they have a suspect and they say there's no more danger. He definitely did it. They got his DNA. He's got to be the one. And so, hey, come on back to school. And that's what they did. They came on back to school. Not all of them, but most of them.
Well, I think that might be like a secondary benefit. I think the primary thing on this is that this might have something to do with like human trafficking or something more sinister like that, kind of like Jeffrey Epstein.
I agree.
And that is what is being covered up. That is why the secret. There's people in such. If this is true, the people involved in this would be the elite in society. They would be in such high places of power. So that is where my mind is kind of thinking. But yeah, it certainly would, allow the enrollment for the whatever quarter, the spring quarter or the following, winter quarter, whatever they call it. It would help that certainly, but that's not the primary reason. That's just too small of a consideration.
Right.
There's something bigger at play.
Yeah, you're right. And I think you made some very strong points. And I thank you for coming on stage, because we proved that you can agree to disagree. We haven't agreed on every single thing here, but your opinions are well thought out. And even the things that I may not necessarily agree on, maybe I'll change my mind in the future, or maybe you will, about some of the things I said and you weren't feeling it. But we were able to talk about it. And that's the only thing that really matters in a live like this. I just want everybody to be able to talk about it and say how they feel about it without being attacked, okay? Because we're all speculating. I don't pretend that anything that I've said or any theory that I have is written in stone, because I can't say that about one thing. All I can do is give my opinion based on my life experiences and the investigations that I've conducted, the research, what I've read, and things that I've heard on the news and what people are putting out there. That's all I have. And so it's just my opinion. As far as I know, I could be dead wrong about everything. All I have to go on is my opinion and my gut and what I've seen watching true crime all these years, and reading up on stuff like this study. I believe that they're right on the money with a lot of it. It might not be 100%, but that study has a lot of truth in it, and it gave me guidance to kind of just look at another angle. I'm not saying Brent Kopaka did anything. I'm saying it's possible, and I'm saying he does fit the profile of a pseudo commando just by what was in his apartment and his mental illness and the fact that he was in the military, because that's really all that they're saying the profile is. The average person does not have an arsenal of weapons in their home. Brian Kohlberg didn't have a gun or a knife, not that I know of.
I think, Hard Truth, thank you for having me up. And you'll probably see me back at some future
I hope so.
live.
I hope so.
keep searching for the truth. I'll be praying that you do find it.
I know,
I'll be praying
please.
for you.
I thank you, and I'll be praying for you. I want you to come back. I pray for everybody. Speaking of prayer, this is supposed to be a private live, and it's not. When I do prayer, it's in a private, members only live. And I do that because it's supposed to be private. It's not for show. It's not for a bunch of people to hear me pray. As a matter of fact, I'm subconscious. I'm self-conscious about stuff like that. And I don't feel that it should be done publicly. Okay, I'm not a pastor or anything like that. We just have prayer during members only live. And so what I'm going to have to do is either figure out how to make this StreamYard private on Wednesdays and figure out that I have a live on Wednesdays and it's Wednesday, or I'm going to have to go back to using my old equipment on Wednesdays, not this StreamYard where I know how to make it private, where it's members only. Because I'm going to shut this live down without prayer. And I know a lot of people going to be like, what? No prayer, because I've never done that. But this is open to the public. It's people in here that's not members. I'm not trying to shut you out. I'm just saying, when I do prayer, it's private. It's for members only. And it's only for members that want prayer. Okay? It's not something I force on anybody. And so I'm not going to do it. I think I did it last week and it was public. I don't even know. I didn't even go back and look at the live. But that's not what this is. I'm not going to keep doing that. The next time I have a live, hopefully I show up for my own live. I seem to need to master that. It will be prayer and it will be private. If I can't figure this out, I'm going to be using my old software to have the members only live, because it's not my prayer in the members only is not something for the public. It's part of the members only. I don't want to say package, but it's for my members. The prayer is for my members. So if you're not a member, I thank LA for trying to gift some memberships. I gifted 5 memberships the other day. If you're not a member, I just encourage you. It's only $2.99, and it's not me begging for money. It's so that you can get in the members only live, because the Wednesday lives are members only. I have to give my members perks for being members. Otherwise, what's the incentive to be a member? I give them sneak peeks like I gave today. This video I showed y'all, I just made it. I wasn't intending for the public to see that, just my members. So if you're not a member, it's only $2.99 a month. I understand, finances are a struggle. I'm not asking you to do the $6.99 or whatever, but if you can, please just do the $2.99 and become a member, so the next time we have a live next Wednesday, you can get in. And if you don't want to have prayer, you leave just like everybody else. I tell them, hey, we getting ready to have prayer. If you don't want to have prayer, just go ahead and log off. Some people log off and log back on after the prayer. I'm fine with that. But some people do want prayer. And I need prayer. I'm just telling you. So this week, I'm not going to have prayer in this live. I'm getting ready to shut it down. But I'm asking you all, please, do the $2.99, because some of y'all been with me for a long time. I love you. I appreciate you. And I know it might be a financial strain, but $2.99 is, if you want to be a member and you can't afford to email me. Let me find my email right quick and put it on the screen. If you want to be a member and you don't have $2.99, you email me. And somehow between now and the next Wednesday live, I will help you out. But don't do that if you know you got $2.99 and you just want to be on my tab. Don't do that. Don't do that. But where is my email? I must have erased it. I'll do it again. I'm going to give you my email. If you're a member and you're not on my email list for the newsletter, here's your chance to get the email. If you like to come to my members only live, but you're not a member, just consider it. And if you do join as a member, send me your email so that you can get the newsletter, because there's always some good stuff in there, and let's see. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. It's not all about donations and stuff. I started this channel because I heard a report about Brian Kohlberger's car, and I knew that wasn't his car. And I made my first video. I had never made it, you know, I don't know nothing about, I didn't know anything about being an influencer. And it was 46 seconds long. All right. And I made that video, and here I am right now. I did it because I was mad. I was like, they lying on this guy. And I got tired of arguing in somebody else's comment section and getting attacked. So I made my own channel. That's how Hard Truth came about. And so now I would love to get donations. I would love to get super chat, whatever. It helps to pay these subscriptions. And eventually maybe I could do it full time. But I'm a graduate student right now. Okay. And I love doing this. I like making videos and stuff. If I didn't, I would. It's a lot of work. Okay. But I enjoy doing it. I love talking to you guys. I done met some fantastic people. Fantastic people. And so I just want you all to, you know, understand that and understand where I'm coming from. Cause I don't have a reason not to be transparent. You know, I don't have anything under my sleeve. I don't have time to be on here begging people to like videos for an algorithm. If you like it, you will like it. People will like your stuff. And sometimes they forget, maybe they'll do it later. But hey, you already know from being on YouTube, if you like a video, to like it. I don't have to keep telling you that like you children, because you're not. We are all adults, as far as I know. Most of my viewers are over 40 years old. According to my data, the majority are over 40. So if you over 40, you on YouTube, you know about liking videos, you know about buying stickers and all that. No, I didn't even know about some of that stuff myself, but you know. So I don't have to keep banging people over the head with that. I'm not gonna do it. If I gotta beg people to do it, I'll go do something else. Or I just do my studies at school and forget about it. If I got to do all of that. Okay, I'm good. I'm amazed that I got 3,000 subscribers. I'm amazed. You couldn't pay me to think that this channel would have reached to where it is now. If you look at my first few videos, how pitiful they were, you understand what I'm talking about. But God been good to me. And I love talking to you guys. I love for you to come on and share your opinion. You never know where the platform will go, you know, where we could talk about other things or whatever. But thank you, Les, and thank you, One Made Nut, for coming on the stage. Thank you, everybody that viewed. I think we got a member here, Miss Mick Winborn. Thank you so much. Let me show you some love, because I mean, don't get me wrong. Some people are on this channel, on this YouTube, and this is their livelihood. If they don't make what they need to make every week, they can't pay their bills to keep a roof over their head and feed their families. They've been doing it for years. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying I'm not at that place yet, because I'm not doing this full time. If I was, I'll be putting out more videos. You know, I only got 2 lives a week, one for members and one for everybody. So I'm not gonna have a heart attack if you know, if I don't get nothing or if I don't get much. But at the same time, I do want the channel to grow. Now that I have it, I do want to take it to another level. I do want to do these things. Okay? Now that I have it. But the point of the matter is, let's show each other love and respect. Keep meeting. Have a good time. I'm sorry that I'm not going to put the prayer out today, but I'm just not doing no more public prayers. I'm done with that. I didn't mean to do it last week, but I was on the public and didn't know it. The YouTube was set to private members only, but the StreamYard wasn't. All right, so that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And next week I'm gonna have to clamp down on members only, because we have in prayer. This week I am gonna pray, but I'm gonna pray in private for everybody that was here today. All right, shout out to Miss Winborn for becoming a new member. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Y'all welcome her. And I appreciate you. And hopefully, like I said, after I finish this live, I'm going to drop the video. And then I'm going to have prayer for everybody that was in this live today privately on my own. I'm giving you my word that as soon as I drop this video, I'm going into prayer for everybody. So you ain't missing nothing. You just can't hear it. And next week, we'll be back on our regular. All right. But the members only. It's gonna be members only for real. All right, Leslie got a super sticker for $19.99. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. God knows I appreciate it. Okay, we're doing good and we're growing, but we're gonna be civilized as a what do you call it? A channel. You know, I like civilization. Thank you so much, Les. Les is my sidekick, standing in on the stage, emailing me stuff, donating to the channel, buying stickers. This lady is been good to me. And so has Robin Latham. AF is not here today, but I'm going to tell y'all, AF has been a guardian angel to me. All right. He's a big reason why I was encouraged to keep doing it when I first got 1,000 subscribers and could get, you know, members and stuff like that. He was a big, he and Robin Latham were a big reason why, and Star Sourcer and Willow, they were a big reason why I kept going. Because I was like, hey, people are invested in this. I must have something here. And that's how I thought, you know, and so here I am still going. All right. So God bless y'all. I'm gonna give Les some love here. And I thank y'all. I thank you for coming out. I thank you for sharing your opinion. You've just about seen all of the video I'm getting ready to drop, but maybe you can still share it, I guess. And it shows you most of what I got in my bag. All right, but thank you so much. Welcome to Miss Winborn. And also, thank you to LA and Les for the donations. Thank you for the chat stickers. Thank you. And we will commence on tomorrow night at 8:45. I will be talking about the study and the Kopaka Pseudo, but that's not all I have to talk about. So don't think about, well, I'm not going to come to the live. I'm tired of hearing about that study, and that's all she got. No, I got a couple of other things to talk about, including the alibi and some other things. All right. Thank you, Tam. Thank you, all my international viewers. Thank you for tuning in. You don't have to do it. It's my birthday Friday, so hey, what's in the present, right? A membership for myself. Let me write that down. I don't want to have to jump on Tam in here. Let me write down. Tam's birthday is Friday. Tam, send me an email too. Send me your email. Send me your email and let me write down that it's your B-Day Friday. All right, I got that. And I was supposed to go back to Carrie's comment about Xana's mom. So we'll talk about that tomorrow night also. All right, we'll talk about that tomorrow night also. Okay, so if there's no other business, I am going to conclude this live, and I'm going to leave it open for another 5 minutes. So if you all want to talk to each other or whatever, you can. And also, I think I better put my email back on the screen for those last 5 minutes. Thank you so much.